things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. We're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out.
Good afternoon. Wow. Just something, I just literally found something out that kind of sets me back in my place a little bit, involving vaping and one of the icons, so to speak, of vaping. And I'll get to that in a moment because I haven't seen it, and I'd like to see it, and we're going to watch it on the show here. So anyway, I got an email with somebody that was responding to this other person, the initial person. So that's how I know about it. Anyway, we'll get to that here soon enough. I really didn't have a topic per se to talk about, but there are there is something that I do want to talk about, if that makes any sense. Folks, we need to continue to plant seeds. We need to plant as many seeds as possible. And I'm not talking about tree seeds. I'm not talking about flower seeds. I'm not even talking about garden seeds. We need to plant freedom seeds, liberty seeds. And we need to do it every single day in as many different places what we possibly can. Was talking on the phone today with Steve Angle, and we talked about a ton of different subjects, and it's crazy. Some of the stuff we were talking about was like corruption within towns and stuff. We had talked about roundabouts, for instance, and like, I can only speak for what I know, but in the town that I'm in, the residents were against the idea. Half the council members were against the idea, but the city did it anyway, right? It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Your thoughts, your votes don't matter, right? They're going to get your money to be able to do whatever the hell they want to do. They're going to get that. They're going to do that by force. They're going to do that with a gun to your head, literally. So they don't care. Why? No consequences. There are no consequences yet. Another instance here in town is we've got a gazebo up on the square. And it was getting time that gazebo was either rehabbed or done away with. It was starting to fall apart. And this town has a very, very proud Swiss-German heritage. And when you looked at this gazebo, you could see the Swiss-German influence with that gazebo. I mean, it was just as plain as day, clear as a bell. And so the question came up, do we spend the money to rehab the old gazebo, or do we demolish it and put in a new gazebo? And it would have actually cost more to have rehabbed the old one. But the people largely wanted that done. And again, you had half the council members that wanted to rehab the old one. But what do you think happened? It got demolished. And in its place came some new age looking piece of crap. I don't know if I can possibly find a picture of what kind of a disgraceful looking thing we have today. I'm going to look. I know I can show you one because I've actually got it on one of the Facebook groups that I am in. But I figured they would probably have an image. Here we go. Let me open this up so you can see it. This is the thing that we got. Okay, that's what we got. It's not what the people wanted. I'm telling you, the old gazebo, and I cannot find a picture of it anymore for the life of me. But the old one was gorgeous. It really, truly was gorgeous. It just needed gone over. It was old, It was old. It just needed gone over. This is how it looks at night. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not definitely not what used to be there. And so anyway, the point of what I'm saying is that it absolutely does not matter what we the people want. Our government, whether it be your local city government, your county, your state, or federal, don't give a damn about what you want. They don't care. And that's a problem. What title do they hold? Is it not representatives? Well, I was never informed that that meant representative of what they want. I was always left under the impression that was representative of what we want. So now back to what I'm talking about with planting seeds. Every single day, pretty much, on social media, I'm interacting in groups, a lot of the vaping groups as of lately. And I am constantly telling people, if you want to put a stop to this, it means we've got to put a stop to it. Not sit here and play the petition game, not sit here and call our local representative, right? Because they don't care. Why? No consequences. See, it keeps coming back to that same thing. No consequences. You know, as children, we had toys taken away from us, or we had to go sit in our room or stand in the corner, or got our butts spanked, any number of things. Why? Because those were the consequences of our actions. And any decent parent damn well made their child pay the consequences for negative actions. So, it's about time that we make our so-called representatives pay the consequences for their actions. The only way we're going to fix this. We're not going to do it at the ballot box. It's not going to work. They have gotten away with it for far too long. You know, if you do something once that's wrong and you get away with it and you do it again, you get away with it and you do it again, you get away with it. Every time that you do that, it's going to get easier. And every single way, it's going to get easier to do. It's going to get easier to perform whatever it is that you're doing. It's going to be easier to accept in your conscience. And every single way, it's going to get easier to do. And that's where our politicians are at today. When they lie to us, when they cheat us, when they steal from us, they don't bat an eye. Why? Because they've had decades to do this with no consequences. None. And we need to stop talking about how we're going to vote them out of office. And we need to start showing up and dragging their asses out on the street. Literally. Literally. Let me say that one more damn time. Literally. Because not a thing in this country is going to change until we do that. And we do that enough times, and guess what? We're going to be able to stop doing it. Because once these other representatives start seeing their partners in crime getting dragged out of their office, right? I think it was over in the UK. There's a video of them dragging one out of their office and throwing them in a dumpster. Once enough of that is seen in this country, they're going to shape up real quick. Why? That same word. Consequences. Because now they're looking at them. As it stands today, all they'll get, at the very worst, is people saying, we're going to vote you out of office. You think they really care? Seriously. Do you really think they care? Because guess what? You vote them out, they're still collecting from that position that they held until the day they die. Yeah. Where's the consequences? Where's the consequences? They don't exist. Yet. But this is why it's important that we start planting this seed as far and wide as we can. Because it may not be today. It may not be tomorrow, or the next day, or next week, or next month. But at some point, these individuals that read the things that I write on these social media platforms are going to remember those messages. I hope to hell that it's sooner rather than later. But that's to remain seen. So never hold back from planting those seeds, because that's what they are. They're seeds. And I hope that someday, very soon, I can start to see them sprout. I want to see this fixed. I don't think our generation should be just passing it down to our children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I don't think we should be just passing this mess down to them because we're not quite uncomfortable enough yet to do something about it. I'll tell you what, within another generation or two of time, we will be. We will be. So, anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Plant those seeds. It's important. It truly, truly is important. Let me run through the normal stuff. I've got a bit of a treat for you, which there's a pun in there. I got a bit of a treat for you as soon as I get done with that stuff. And then we'll do the headlines and, you know the deal. So, anyway, we did get video today of Blue getting bacon. So, anyway, let me run through the normal stuff. We'll go from there. Amazon affiliate, we're at $35.60. So we are still moving up on that. I show that there's 2 items still yet to ship. So as long as they shipped out today, because this is a day behind. So as long as they shipped out today, that'll go up a little bit more yet tomorrow. And then on the 2nd is when you'll start seeing the numbers from the new month, which will probably be goose eggs. But so that's how that works. So I want to thank everybody that participates in our Amazon affiliate program. You guys, seriously, I really appreciate it. I've got my little priority list thing going. I'll talk about that in just a second. So anyway, thank you for that. For those that don't know, there's a link in the description of the videos as well as at thewatchmannews.com. You click that link, it takes you to Amazon. You purchase an item after going through that link. It doesn't cost you anything more than it throws a little bit our way. We also have an Amazon store. It is what it sounds like. It's a little store on Amazon. Bunch of categories, bunch of items in the categories. If you purchase one of those items, it doesn't cost you anything more than it throws a little bit our way. We have a Teespring store. Best way to navigate through that is go to thewatchmannews.com. Scroll down on the homepage and you'll see all of our different designs. Bunch of different items with those designs on them. So that's how you get to that. We also have a PayPal donation page. Best way to get to that is either a link in the description or if you go to thewatchmannews.com, we got a button right there in the middle. And that takes you to our PayPal donation page. Can you tell I'm trying to get through this quick? You don't have to have a PayPal account. You can just sign up or just do it as a guest with your debit or a credit card. And I always let people know that it says Transforming Disabilities up top. It also says Purpose the Watchman News donation. That way you're in the right place. Although my highlight wasn't. Anyway, so one other way, if you want to help out, we do have an Amazon wish list of the items we are prepping for. And that's what I was going to talk about just a second ago. To get to that, there's a link in the description of the videos, as well as right here on the homepage at thewatchmannews.com. You click that, and it just takes you to our Amazon wish list. And what I was going to talk about is probably after I get this drone stuff taken care of, I'm going to be I'm going to be hitting that cold weather gear hard, starting with 0-degree sleeping bags, and there's a reason for that. Okay, it really clarified to me today what's going on. It really did. So new items on there are Oreos. Because it was mentioned that, that people might want to get Jen some Oreos and feed her addiction. So they are on there. The Oreos are on there. So I put them up there just simply because that way, just anybody, if they want to throw Jen some Oreos, we don't have to give our physical address out, which I'm kind of uncomfortable with doing that just openly. So that's a way that people can throw some Oreos her way and keep me alive. So anyway, well, so, and like I say, once I get the drone stuff taken care of, which I know there's quite a few things there. However, the one thing that's not there is motors. I'm still trying to find motors for it, but the case is the next big thing there. That's, $50 for that one thing. But once I get that stuff taken care of and got that cleared away, yes, I do need to get socks probably pretty quick. Anyway, there's sleeping bags, and I hope they come back in stock. And so my goal is I'm hoping to be able to go after the sleeping bags at the end of this coming month, okay? However, the sad thing is I was watching them kind of go in and out of stock. Now it says usually ships within 2 to 4 weeks. That sucks. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, that is where any donations go. That's, it all goes to prep. And then I check the items out. I review them. I try to review them. I know I'm way behind on that. I need to get on that. I need to get the watch reviewed. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to review the watch because it's going to be kind of hard for me to do stuff on it. And be able to walk around and talk, and because I don't have anything to mount a camera on my body or anything like that. So I'll figure it out. I'll figure something out. Anyway, that covers that stuff. So now to the moment that Jen's not been waiting for. Here is a short video of the antics of Blue when she's getting her treat, especially when it's a special treat.
You gotta get your harness off. Come here. You gotta get your harness off.
Yahoo Mail.
What about Mama's kisses? Can I have hugs and kisses? Hey! You give me hugs and kisses. You give me hugs. You give. Yeah. You sit, you shake, high five. Oh, God.
She's just a little nuts. Just a little bit. Oh, man. I am telling you. All right. I guess let me get some headlines out of the way, and we'll go from there. So Let's see. Last night I shared this out. Former Juul executive alleges e-cig behemoth resold expired products and knowingly shipped 1 million tainted pods. That's nuts, by the way. And guess what? The entire vaping industry takes the rap for that. And the sad thing is nearly the entire vaping industry can't stand Juul. Can't stand Juul. Why? Because Juul is really just big tobacco. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They were doing everything they could to get kids to buy their products and everything else. And that's something that the vaping community has been very, very adamant about, is not trying to attract children into vaping. And, you know, it's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. Let's see. Okay, from this morning, fight terror without double standards. Russia and India counterterrorism group vows credible action against safe havens. Ban meat to save the planet. Swedish preschool conducts mandatory vegan diet experiment. And by the way, you see what happens when we allow the government to have control of our schools? Let's see. Hotel collapses, multiple houses damaged after yet another strong quake hits the Philippines. A devastating fire kills 73 passengers as gas stove explodes on board packed train in Pakistan. Up to 50 Boeing planes grounded globally after wing-related cracks discovered. Wow, I can't even pronounce words. Let's see. North Korea fired projectiles fall off of Japan's territorial waters. Democrats just accidentally sparked a federal fracking boom. Let's see. A growing club of very powerful countries is shifting away from the U.S. dollar, says a think tank, which we talk about that almost daily in our headlines. Let's see. Artificial wall broken down. Kashmir's autonomy in India officially ceases to exist. Grounding of China-made drones by U.S. Interior. Abuse of concept of national security, Beijing says. And it is. That's what it is. All this stupid stuff that the government is claiming that we need to be fearful of because it's Chinese tech, like the drones, like the Huawei phones, for instance. You know, all they are trying to do is posture themselves to be able to dictate what kind of products, what brand of products, what country, what origin that these products come from. That's what they're doing. This is nothing but business ploys. It has nothing to do with national security. Do you know how hard it would be? I should say how easy it would be for them to be able to go through every single line of code programmed into these products to make sure that they were legitimate, to make sure they were safe. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. No country should be doing this to any other country. Pegasus spyware attack, Indian journalist and activist targeted on WhatsApp, a lawsuit claims. Russia orders extra Soyuz manned spacecraft as NASA replacements wallow in uncertainty. Israeli Boeing Air Force One malfunctions during test flight. Saving lives or chasing dollars, concern as doctors push stomach surgeries for children to combat rising obesity. So you think about that, right? Is it are they truly showing concern here, or are they trying to make a buck? Should we possibly look at why children are becoming obese at an alarming rate? Or even adults? Because a lot of it's the same thing. A lot of it's the same thing. It's not any one thing. But largely a lack of activity plays a role, and also a lack of nutrition. Because it doesn't matter in the United States of America if you go out and you buy good foods. And when I say good foods, I'm talking fruits and vegetables and, things that are supposed to be healthy to eat. Because between all of our factory farming type of crap and all of the pesticides and all of the chemicals and everything else, they suck the nutrients right out of every single food that we have. So you can eat a ton of what is supposed to be good food and still be malnourished because of all their processes that they demand. It's ridiculous. So basically, the people in this country are eating a lot of empty calories. A lot of empty calories. And then you have all of these, processed sugars that are just unreal. All the types of corn syrups and all of that's not good either. These doctors and the scientists know what's causing the obesity epidemic. Why don't we just fix that? Why do we have to move to some type of a surgical operation which isn't going to really help the problem? This country is ridiculous. And part of the reason why is because every single industry in it has to be for profit. My God, even the non-profits are for profit. Medical industry has no business being a for-profit industry. Not whatsoever. I'm not saying doctors shouldn't make a good paycheck or nurses shouldn't make a good paycheck. What I'm saying is Big Pharma and the manufacturers of medical equipment. Hospital administrators, nursing home administrators. They shouldn't be able to gouge the hell out of people because they simply want to be healthy or feel better. That's where this country's going wrong. That's why you've got multiple states and the federal government looking to get rid of vaping in this country, which is 95% less harmful than smoking. And they're trying to do away with it in this country. But yet you got the UK, which doesn't have a for-profit medical system, that's putting vape shops in their hospitals to get people off smoking. Kind of a big difference there. Bad blood. Polish scientist calculates odds of victory in apocalyptic war between humans and vampires. Let's see. Hashtag Britain has exploded and hashtag Brexit riots trending as social media ridicules Brexit deadline day predictions. We'll see. Things could go haywire over there. Arctic kindergarten killing. Man cuts sleeping boy's throat in daycare center on the orders of Satan. This happened in Russia. Sawing off the branch it's sitting on, U.S. has itself to blame for dollar collapse, says the Kaiser report. Let's see. Iraqi prime minister to resign as violent protests grip the country. Trump says U.S. working with China to find new location to strike trade deal after APEC summit canceled. Congress approves impeachment resolution authorizing Schiff's secret probe of Trump. ISIS names new leader, confirming al-Baghdadi's death, says reports. I'm still not buying it. I mean, it may, and I hope it did happen, but it just seems awful familiar. I'll put it that way. A quarter of world pig population could be wiped out this year alone, animal health expert warns. Donald Trump booed again by Washington crowd during World Series despite game being in Houston. Let's see. Can't see all of that headline here. 1 second. Let's see. Iran intervenes to prevent ousting of Iraqi prime minister, says sources. Missile fired at Israel from Gaza Strip, says the IDF. Trump invades Brexit. U.S. can't make UK trade pact with current EU deal. Corbyn so bad for Britain. Let's see. Trump says Melania wouldn't cry her eyes out if he were shot. Joke explodes on Twitter. Telling you. Okay, I got a number 2 up there. Let's see. Starbucks fired manager because she was white. Lawsuit claims in wake of infamous Philadelphia store arrest of 2 black men. And let's see. Americans will respawn al-Baghdadi. Assad casts doubt on ISIS leader's death. Draws parallels with bin Laden's killing. I did the very same thing. There's so many. In fact, that's what I meant by it sounds too familiar. It's because it's almost like the identical story. It's like it's like Trump took the bin Laden story and scratched out bin Laden's name and put al-Baghdadi's name in it. I mean, it's that bad. It is really that bad. So anyway, this is ridiculous. And the sad thing is all the people in this country that just willingly fall for it. Really sad. That's why it's important, and I'll say it again, it's why it's important that we plant those seeds. It's very, very important. Because even the people that don't see it today, they might see it down the road. They might see it in a few months. Right? And that seed will already be there. Just ready to sprout. And that's why I think it's so important to plant them. So anyway, that's what I got for the monologue. If you're here for the live show, stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be live till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're just here for the monologue or you're watching the recording of the monologue, thank you very much. As always, God bless you. We love you and be one with your spirit. Okay. Let me go ahead and start out with this video and we'll see what's going on with this. Apparently, one of the icons in vaping is going to quit vaping. And it's kind of mind-blowing to me. So we're going to start out with that video. Then we're going to listen to the reply to it. I believe that video is going to be this one here. Let me... Hang on. And I'm going to warn you ahead of time. This guy is like really, really out there. Okay? Just kind of just saying he's out there. That's kind of his shtick, so to speak. So bear with him. He's okay. Anyway, the channel is Rip Trippers. I've watched Rip Trippers for many, many years. And this video is titled Rip Trippers Quitting Vaping for Real? ?
What is going on, guys? Rip Trippers back at you today with this is a vape video, but it's not a review video. It's more of a this one is probably the most serious video as far as shit hitting the fan type of video that I've ever done. I mean, it's no joke. This is no clickbait. I posted on my Instagram 2 days ago. I said this. I said, well, it looks like I might be quitting the vape very soon, guys. Video on this whole subject coming out tomorrow, the next night on my YouTube channel, and this is what this video. And a lot of people, it just surprised me. I mean, there's a lot of support and I love that from you guys, but I mean, there's a lot of other people that they just don't understand. I really don't think that they understand the severity of the situation going on. And I think that some of the other reviewers out there like me either know it like I do or just are in denial. I'm sure that most other reviewers know the severity of the situation because of all that's going on and how we're going to have the DC rally and everybody's going to come together. But yeah, all these people commented. I mean, like I said, some of you guys are awesome. Some of you guys and gals are awesome. Others, you're just fucking clueless. It's so obvious. And it makes me worry even more because all this stuff going on, this is the end of vaping as we know it. I mean, seriously. But some of these guys and gals are writing like super trooper high. Wait, seriously? This isn't clickbait or anything? You're serious? Yeah, man. Another one said, hopefully for the better. Another guy said, man, do it. That's what vaping is meant to do. Get you off of smoking and make it easier to fully quit and free yourself of nicotine. I agree with you on that. But I'm a reviewer and that's my form of advocacy. So for me to pump out videos for you guys, again, it's my form of advocacy to you guys to get the smokers watching off of cigarettes and over to vaping. And I'm going to keep doing it. As long as I'm able to keep vaping and pump out these reviews, I'm going to keep doing it. This message that I post on Instagram, people think that I'm going to quit just because I don't like it anymore, or I'm sick of it, or, all the bullshit going on. No, this is more serious than that. And I'm trying to convey that to you, okay? Another guy says, what? But vaping is the future and the future's now, man. LOL. It's like these people, you think it's a fucking joke. This ain't no joke. 6 months. I'm going to repeat that. 6 months tops that I'm going to be doing reviews. Suck My Mod, Grim Green, all these guys are going to be doing reviews. Hell, I've heard 2 to 3 months. And I've got inside sources, that I'm talking to on a daily. This is some serious shit, man. And it all goes back to, the corruption, the kids and the vaping, the THC cartridges. If you missed that video, I'll post a link down in the description. That's just like the tipping point. I mean, this all started back in 2014. I think our government, I pretty much know our government and the big tobacco, and they're all in on it, man. And the politicians, the lobbyists, anti-vapors associations, I mean, they are wanting to rip this industry down, man. And they're going to do it. They're going to do it fast. Another thing, a lot of people are like, Rip, why don't you do something, man? I am doing something. I'm just one voice. I mean, I can only speak to you guys so many times before either you get conditioned to it or you get off your ass and do something. I mean, look at Grim Green. All he does is advocacy, right? Legislative advocacy. Seriously, the guy gets no views. It's really pathetic. So for me, I'm gonna wait until shit almost hits the fan just to get the point across so you guys can fucking listen. Cause it's like you don't listen, or you just sit on your ass and wait for the next person to do something about it. And I just don't understand it, man. I'm frustrated at this point, frustrated with this whole system. It's emotional turmoil is what it is, man. And I've been dealing with this emotional shit for like 3 or 4 years. Oh, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? And then I do advocacy here and there, legislative advocacy. Most of the advocacy I'm doing is for the vapors, the product reviews, because that to me is just important, okay? We have other guys, again, like Grim Green, who stick to more of the legislative side. If you don't know who Grim Green is, check him out. He's awesome. He's been doing reviews longer than I have. But again, he's more on the legislative advocacy, which is awesome. It's just, but to some of you guys, it's more important than what I do. But the point is, a lot of you vapors out there, you think I'm just going to quit because I don't want to do it anymore, that I don't have passion. Bullshit. I have more passion than most of you motherfuckers combined. I know I'm good on getting off the walls here. It just is what it is. I love vaping, and I would never quit. I would keep doing these reviews for the next decade if I could. But unfortunately, I don't think that's the case. Actually, I pretty much know that's not the case. Like I said, 6 months. That's max, guys. 6 months. Let me tell you why. The flavor ban. If that gets banned all across the country and they're going to go state by state by state. Now, there's states that have pulled it back, but they're going to keep hitting it, man. You think they're going to stop? No. And if they don't stop, we can't stop. Us vapors, we cannot stop, man. We got to keep fighting, pressing on. And that right there is some of the hardest part, because it's like, again, people like Grim Green, he's a super advocate and no one seems to listen. I mean, you have a small percentage, but everyone else, after the 3rd or 4th or 5th, 6th video, they're like, same old shit. That's a problem. They're going to win. The government's going to win. Big tobacco's going to win. I mean, they already have a freaking head up because of money. I mean, billions and billions of dollars. But don't let that discourage you. We have the voice. The voice is the power. The people power. Do you understand? I'm getting all shaky here, man. It's just... And another thing, people like me and Grim Green and Suck My Mod and Mike Vapes, Vaping Fagan and DGLSP Vapes and more, all of us reviewers that have been in the game for years, it's been a lot harder on us, I guarantee it. Like I said, man, other reviewers, I can't believe Grim Green hadn't fucking cracked or Suck My Mod. I mean, seriously, behind the scenes, it's like, oh shit, it's way worse, man. I mean, like, because this is our livelihood. This is our bread and butter. This is how I support my kids, my 3 kids, my wife, 4 people I gotta support. And I've been fortunate to be at the top and be able to, do do these reviews and kick ass. And that's another thing I want to talk about. So you get, okay, first of all, you got the flavor ban, right? And the flavor ban is going to get rid of all e-liquids. You're not going to be able to get any e-liquids. Only tobacco flavors, which is another flavor. Whatever. But you guys get the point. No flavors equals sales down the drain. That is no good. And then on top of that, right? YouTube has demonetized all of our videos. All the vape reviewers videos. We do not get paid to post videos for views. No. I hadn't got paid for a freaking video in a year. And before that, it was like every other video I wouldn't get paid for. So guess where we get our money from? Us reviewers? Sponsorship. From other companies, from sites, websites. That's how we get paid. That's how we get paid so we can keep posting stuff for you guys. But guess what? That's going to end. If they ban the flavors, it's going to be like a domino effect. And then the US, that's right, the US of A is not going to have any products coming in. And if we don't have any products coming in, no sponsorships, zero, which means there's going to be no freaking reviewers. I'm going to be gone. Grim Green, Suck My Mod, DJ LSP Vapes, all of us. We are going to be gone. And you know what that means? No freaking market. We are the marketing part. But if there's none of that, oh my gosh. So yeah, when I post this on Instagram, I'm telling you, yeah, I might have to quit. This is not a fucking clickbait, man. But there is some hope. First of all, we keep fighting. We keep pumping out videos like this, legislative advocacy videos to, freaking let people know what's going on. I'm going to keep pumping out product reviews until I can't anymore. And like I said, in about 6 months. And that's tops, guys. So I'm going to be kicking it. Kicking dicks and chucking tits, man, to get these videos out for you guys. It's just been hard this last week just because there's just... But again, we got the DC rally November 9th. I'll post a link down in the description to all the information. I'll post a link down in the description to Suck My Mods video, Grim Green's video, other vape reviewers videos. So you get everything, the logistics. But yeah, there's a DC rally November 9th, and it carries over in other dates. But November 9th is the big day. If you're in DC, again, I'll post a link down in the description to the address wherever you need to be. We're going to come together and we're going to support what we believe in, which is vaping e-cigs. Saves lives, man. We got to stop this fucking corruption. Kill it. The more we speak out, the more we come together, the more we can at least suppress this shit going on. Now, the DC rally it's very, very awesome, right? It's great that we're all going to be coming together, but it ain't awesome that we have to do something like that. And that's how you know the shit's about to hit the fan. It's about to get real. So again, links down in the description of the DC rally, okay? All the information you need. Now, I also want to point this out. Rip Trippers is going to keep moving on. I'm not going to stop my channel. If the vape stuff ends, God, I hope it doesn't. But if it does, I'm going to be posting content out the ass. Probably won't be vaping videos, but it's going to be something. You're going to get the full-on Rip Trippers, that's for sure. The passionate mother chucking Rip Trippers. Oh yeah. So don't worry. I'm never going to leave YouTube. But God, I hope that I'm able to keep doing the vape videos. And without your help, I'm not going to be able to do it. And another thing, a lot of the people are like, oh, you better go to the DC rally. You don't tell me what to do. Don't ever tell me what to do. I don't need you entitled mother chuckers to tell me what to do. I know what I need to do. This DC rally is not about Rip fucking Trippers. And that's another thing. A lot of people get on me about legislative advocacy. You don't do it enough. Rip, you don't do it enough. Well, if I did it all the time, you guys would get conditioned to it. It wouldn't be a big thing. This is big if I do it every once in a while. And also, that's not my forte. Like I said, Grim Green and Suck My Mod and the Vaping Greek, that is their forte, legislative advocacy. But the stuff that I post here, the vaping product reviews, which in my opinion is equally important, that's my forte. That's what I'm good at. And that's what I'm going to keep doing as long as I can keep doing it. All right? So once again, link down in the description to all the information you need to know about the DC rally. I'm done. That's it. I'm out. This is Rip Trippers. And remember, smoking is dead. And it is dead. Vaping is the future. And the future is now. Peace. Let's get it done.
I told you this guy's out there. But I want to say something. 99% of the time that I'm in the market for a new mod or a new tank or something vaping related, 99% of the time, he has done a review on it. And guess who watches that review? I do. And yeah, I cringe at his antics. I do, right? But he does a really good job on his reviews. He's very informative with what he tells everybody about the products. And, he has been a reliable source for information when it comes to vaping products. And so, and I'm glad that this isn't what I was thinking it was by the title. But he makes a very, very good point. That being said, I'm going to go down here. And by the way, look at that. 1.36 million subscribers. He's got over 1 million subscribers. Okay? And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to hit copy paste or paste. I already hit copy. And let me tell you what this says before I enter it. I don't know if you can see it all. I put this earlier today in a forum on a page on Facebook. Okay? I do this every single day. Not the same message. I always write a new message, but I might copy and paste it 500 times throughout the day. Anyway, this is what it says. I keep saying it over and over, but the thought is so uncomfortable for most, they will not even entertain it. Look, freedom isn't free. We have to sacrifice for it. We are not entitled to freedom. Our Constitution and Declaration of Independence made that very, very clear. We can fix this and many other issues like civil asset forfeiture, lack of fathers' rights, overtaxation, and much more by physically going to our state capitals and throwing them out on their asses. It's either that or enjoy the taste of boot leather. It's time to wake up while we still can. I'm tired of being forced to be a sheep because others are too uncomfortable with the reality. What is truly sickening is this society is perfectly fine leaving this mess to their kids as long as they don't have to look out from under their covers. So, you know, that's how I deal with this. That's how I plant those seeds that I was telling you about. That's exactly how I do it. So, and it's sad. Anyway, we're going to see what the reply is on this. The DIY or Die channel did a video titled Responding to Rip regarding quitting vaping for real. And I want to hear what he has to say on it. Then we'll get on with the normal stuff.
Welcome to DIY or Die. Today I want to talk about Rip Tripper's new video. He posted recently on Instagram something saying he's quitting vaping and he's going to make a video explaining more about it. And just yesterday he released a video called Rip Tripper's Quitting Vaping for Real. And I really enjoyed this video. I think it's one of his best videos in a long time. And there are a few reasons why, and we'll go over them. But I also want to talk about the message behind it and kind of my thoughts on that. Because I do think it's very important.
All these people commented. I mean, like I said, some of you guys are awesome. Some of you guys and gals are awesome. Others, you're just fucking clueless. It's so obvious. And it makes me worry even more because all this stuff going on, this is the end of vaping as we know it. I mean, seriously.
So as you can see, Rip Trippers is visibly frustrated at, I guess, the lack of urgency from the comments on his post. You can tell that, he's trying to wake up his viewers by saying, a lot of you are fucking clueless. You can tell like there's like this sort of, frustration, annoyance, and, anger kind of all built up in him. And I really like that in this video because you don't see Rip in that light. Right? He might talk crap about a bad product or something, but you don't see him, portraying real emotion most of the time. So when you see it, it does sort of, you're just like, oh, okay, kind of, grabs your attention. One thing he also brings up in this video is why he doesn't really post too much advocacy.
And that's another thing. A lot of people get on me about legislative advocacy. You don't do it enough. Rip, you don't do it enough. Well, if I did it all the time, you guys would get conditioned to it. It wouldn't be a big thing. This is big if I do it every once in a while. And also, that's not my forte. Like I said, Grim Green and Suck My Mod and the Vaping Greek, that is their forte, legislative advocacy.
We've been talking about stuff like this for years now. And for some, vaping is still around. Vaping in its form that it was a long time ago is still around. So I think people have started to kind of get conditioned to the fact that, yeah, there's going to be some legislative bills put up, but, vaping's always going to come out and nothing's really going to change. But they lack to understand that this time is different, right? We've been basically talking about the same thing for a while, the pre-market tobacco application. The PMTA process is going to effectively ban all of these products anyway. So there needs to be a complete overhaul of the entire regulatory oversight on vaping. And until that happens, most of your favorite juices, I would say, 99.9% of your favorite juices are just not going to be on the market. Vaping as you know it today will cease to exist. It's not going to exist in this form much longer unless something crazy drastic happens. And we do have a chance to make that happen, and we'll talk about that in a second. So in his frustration towards a lot of the laissez-faire attitudes on vaping, I do think the consumer is not to blame if they aren't out there picketing and advocating. Now, I don't want to dissuade you from doing that. I think if you enjoy this industry and you enjoy this technology, then you should advocate for it. But I also don't believe that it's the consumer's job to protect the industry. And one thing that always upset me was seeing companies sort of just rely on their customers to advocate for them and to go to these hearings for them and to go make their voices heard for them. The industry needed to step up many, many times, and it just never happened. And we can get into all the faults of the open vaping system industry because there's plenty of them. This industry is not completely without blame. But that said, I do think if you are a consumer who is worried about this technology sticking around, then you should advocate for it. You don't have to donate millions of dollars to these companies or picket at every rally. But there is one rally coming up that we all need to be at, and we all need to make our voices heard. And if you have the time and the resources to get there, I suggest you do. At the end of the day, this is a very important crossroads in vaping's time. We're either going to make it or break it at this point. I personally believe that vaping will always be around in some form. It's just the industry as we know it. I don't know. I don't know if this industry, the way it is now, is going to stick around. And it's just really kind of depressing to hear that there's this sort of ticking time bomb on the vaping industry. That in 6 months it's coming to an end. But I want to offer you some hope. I do want to offer you some hope because this video, while it's very doom and gloom, I do think that there is a bright side. I do see vaping sticking around. The UK is leading the charge for vaping, which is awesome to see. So that means there's always going to be something, right? There's always going to be something. There's also the whole DIY sector and just the craftiness of the vapor. And that's not going anywhere either. I see that maintaining for a very long time. It's just not going to be the same type of vaping industry that we see. It may not even be an industry, really. It might just be this very sort of concentrated enthusiast market. If you are that type of person, if you are that type of vapor, which I'm sure you are if you're watching this channel, then there's absolutely hope for you. There's absolutely hope that you'll be able to continue to vape your flavored vapor products. But like I always say, this isn't really a fight for that. It's a fight for the industry and the industry as we come to know, the industry that's built this technology up. And we have to do everything we can to try to preserve it. So I just kind of wanted to, pick your brain on some of these points and respond to this video because I do think that it's one of his better videos in a long time. We're at this crossroads. It's really going to come down to this next month or so that decides where we go with this industry and how this all plays out. I kind of just want to push you to fight a little bit harder and to get a little bit more active if you care about this industry because we're in dire times. It's not looking so good. It's not looking so good.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with him on his latter points there. I think it very much is our fight, as well as many other issues are our fight. And the reason why is because it comes down to freedom. It comes down to individual liberty, right? And that is what they're trying to attack. They're not trying to go after, executives of a company, okay? They're trying to go after you and me. Because who is it that benefits from this? Sure, financially, you've got a handful of companies out there that are making a ton of money off of vaping. But to be honest, the ones that benefit the most is you and I. Because we don't have to die of lung cancer. Right? We can still enjoy our nicotine without the death. And that's important. Without this device right here, I'd still be smoking. There is no way that I could have walked out without, just walked away from cigarettes. There is no way. This thing has been a miracle. An absolute miracle. And I would say to them, meaning the government, the very same thing a passionate gun owner would say. Come and take it. I dare you. I dare you. You're going to get me The question is, how many of you am I going to get? Come and take it. All I'm trying to do is live a healthier life. That's all. And that's what every one of us needs to be fighting for. Our personal right to choose, no matter what it is. Even if it's you want to choose to live an unhealthy life. You know, you shouldn't have to pay an unreasonable tax so you can drink a soda. That's your choice. That's your choice. If you choose to live your life in a manner in which you'll likely die of a heroin overdose, guess what? It's your choice to die of that heroin. It's not your choice to die from a bullet from a government-paid, taxpayer-funded terrorist. Your choice. No matter the choice you make, you just have to understand there's consequences. And those consequences shouldn't be from the government. They should be from your choice and your choice alone. That is liberty. So anyway, got one from Suspicious Observers. Let's go ahead and go there. This morning's report is titled First Modern Arc Crater, Earthquake, and Magnetic Plasma.
Good morning, folks. We've got a big earthquake, big weather event, fun, interesting, and bombshell-like science news upcoming. As you have likely noticed, the Solar Dynamics Observatory is in roll and calibration mode, which happens a few times every year, and somehow the blank portions always seem staggered by camera, so if we use more than one, there's never any time missing. Alas, let's go over to spaceweathernews.com and find the last day on our star in 193 angstroms of light, coronal hole system departing on the south. Equatorial bright spot incoming from the left still lacks any sunspot activity below those bright umbral magnetic fields, and the solar wind took the most minor of plasma speed intensifications overnight. That's the little hump on the right in purple, matching a similar hump below in green, that's plasma temperature, and having followed the density peak up in orange. That was only a minor coronal hole stream impact, and so geomagnetic effects from it are minuscule. Folks, that is a hole made by lightning, just like the arc discharge craters that Billy Elverton has showed us many times in our plasma lab. Dallas-Fort Worth officials describe the largest lightning strike they've ever seen, and the aftermath covers 3 normal-sized parking spots in the lot. Incredibly lucky they didn't hit any underground fuel tanks of the gas station in whose parking lot it struck, and incredibly amazing to see this potentially first modern example of a lightning arc discharge crater. Folks, the big earthquake requires some backstory today as we set a record for the most constrained and smallest high alert coverage area in our model since its inception. The black and yellow regions seek further signals either in the atmosphere or deep below, but the red is where the worry is currently highest, and the Philippines alert star took another direct hit. Some had asked why we didn't cancel that alert after the 6.8 gave it a direct hit days ago. Well, because the signals didn't stop there. Also had a noteworthy rumble in Africa, and hopefully that's a one-off event and not a new sequence beginning there. Up first in the science news is an interesting piece, getting us into the right mindset of they don't know what they don't know until they look. While every model of energy distribution on Earth says that it's sunlight or, in rare cases, deep ocean volcanic energy being the source determining life density, at an odd midway point of depth and with no volcanoes below, they found coral in abundances not making any sense. Very fun little read there. And now for some more hard-hitting science. Up first, we just talked about colliding planets, and I agree with the commenter who said it seems to be their explanation for everything. That statement gets even more true today as they say it is those collisions that explain close-in giant exoplanets with wildly eccentric orbits. There are a ton of those around stars in the galaxy, and they can't currently explain that. Up next, a bit of Halloween fun. Can't believe the month is over already. Where did it go? But apart from the goofball antics, let's remember that this is a single star feature here. One massive interior sphere is blasting and sculpting and perhaps adding more in periodic recurrent nova events. Let's go next to a nearly complete torus around a galaxy, and that's just in ionized oxygen. The full ring is there and complements the actual purpose of the study, which was to spot the phenomenal outflowing galactic winds. They were able to make a 3D model of the structure, and interestingly, it does appear that what we are seeing is truly the torus large-scale structure around the galaxy and the centrally penetrating and protruding cosmic jet from its active nucleus, a gorgeous bit of toroidal astrophysical plasma. And this leads us into our top story, molecular clouds. Veteran observers know that the big story last year was Sophia and Alma teaming up to suggest that plasma turbulence and magnetic fields are what controlled star formation in those molecular clouds, not gravitational collapse. But how do those clouds get there in the first place? Is that gravity? Nope. For those who dig deeper on this one, when they discuss turbulent Mach number, those are the indicators of the plasma turbulence and dynamics, which they say indeed join magnetic fields and the overall density and temperature of the ionized gases as the controlling features in the creation of these magnetic plasma star nurseries known as molecular clouds. We greatly appreciate your support. Now, while the climate and catastrophe movies may excite you more, they both require the right physics. Plasma cosmology is where you get it. And if you don't know, we have tons of professors on that one, and the first ever declassified information from government labs after the 30-minute mark. It took a lot for us to be able to share that, so give it the time if you care about any of these topics. We've got wind map forecasts and shots of our star to close. We'll do this all again tomorrow, right here, but right now it's 4:45 a.m. in the new Valley of the Sun. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone.
All right, got one here from Reed Henricks titled, "Is There Really an AR-15 Violence Crisis? Perception versus Reality Matters."
Hey everyone, Reed Hendricks with Valor Ridge. Purpose of this video today is to talk about perception versus reality. Let's go ahead and get started. I recently read an article in which people in this country were polled, and it was a random poll done properly, and the vast majority of people in this country think that firearms deaths, the most firearms deaths, are caused by mass shootings and person-on-person violence. Nothing could be further from the truth. The overwhelming majority of deaths in this country are due to suicides with handguns. This goes against the media narrative that semi-automatic rifles are this dangerous implement, this weapon of war that has no place in a civilized society. Well, if you actually do the research yourself or use government research agencies that have done this for you, you'll find that the amount of people killed by semi-automatic rifles in this country per year, averaged out over the last decade, is the exact same number of people killed by vending machines. Yes, you heard me right. About 14 to 15 people a year are killed by vending machines, and over the last decade, the last 10 years, the amount of people killed per annum by semi-automatic rifles is about 14 to 15 people in that. By AR-15 specifically is what I'm talking about. So if the epidemic of violence by AR-15s is there, then, well, vending machines obviously are every bit as lethal. But you see, perception versus reality is that, and people's perception is based on false narratives that are pushed by people with a political agenda. They're pushed by improper information and outright inaccurate information. And here's the other problem that you'll look at. The chances of being killed in a school shooting are the same as being struck by lightning multiple times. Nobody's calling a crisis of lightning strikes in this country. So before any of you politicians out there decide that you want to enact legislation, let's look at what the real problem is. The real problem out there is people don't know what they don't know. They think that they can do this. They think that they can go online and spend 30 seconds reading an article and all of a sudden they're a self-proclaimed expert on it. Nothing could be further from the truth. Just because you read something doesn't mean that you're an expert on it. My life's work is to advance the Second Amendment. My life's work is to have people proficient in the use of firearms, because I believe that an armed citizenry with firearms that are designed to be used in interpersonal combat, that is the bulwark of our nation. An armed citizenry is the bulwark of our nation, much more so than law enforcement, much more so than the military. The only people making arguments for gun control in this country are freak shows themselves. They're mentally unstable people. They do not trust their fellow man. They do not understand the foundations of this country. They have an irrational fear of other individuals owning firearms because they don't trust themselves. Firearms require personal responsibility. Firearms require a sense of duty. Firearms, to use them properly, requires courage and steadfastness. Using a firearm to protect yourself against violent criminals or tyrannical government, it takes a very powerful and very courageous spirit like our ancestors had, and that we need to revive in each other. And so I would ask this weekend or any other time that you're talking about people, have this conversation about the importance of firearms in American society and how it is a fundamental right. It was a right that existed before this country was brought into existence, and it's a right that is continued to this very day. And politicians out there clamoring for gun control and enacting laws that go against this, look, you are going to have to recognize that you are 100% wrong and that there are consequences for actions. American people are patient. American people will tolerate things up to a certain level. But eventually when you get to a time when the outright foundation of our country is violated, well, that doesn't sit well with patriots. That doesn't sit well, and it didn't sit well with our ancestors. I would like to refer you back to Lexington and Concord out there. It was a very real event, and the good guys won that one. And in these times that we're living in, as more and more politicians clamor for gun control, you have to proceed with even more boldness. You have to proceed with even more grounding in our foundational charter of governance. You have to proceed forward with that courage. You have to proceed forward with the knowledge that we are on the right side of history, the people that want to keep and bear arms, the people that protect others and continue to do so every day. Thousands of people protect themselves with firearms every day. And that is an irrefutable fact that is very uncomfortable to people who want to pass on the alternative viewpoint, which is their perception rather than reality. If you found the information video helpful, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to learn how to use your firearms effectively, come on out to Valor Ridge and we can help you. This is Reed Hendricks with Valor Ridge reminding you, the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.
It seems like I remember hearing what I had wrote in chat there. I can Google it real quick. That is a good question, but it seems like I remember hearing something about that before, that most people are killed by vending machines because they try to shake them, they try to tip them. You know, whether or not they're trying to steal something, I guess the other scenario is if your snack didn't fall out of the vending machine and you're trying to rock it to get it to fall the rest of the way. Let me Google this real quick, trying to make this let's see. I guess there's a bunch of articles about vending machines killing more people than sharks. Let's see. I don't know that this says how. A big old article, and they probably don't even say how it's doing it. Death by vending machine. Here we go. Let's see. Hang on, I'm reading as quickly as I can. 37 people were, yeah. Let me click on that, because that's a link, I guess. Like right here, 2001 Darwin Awards nomination featured a nomination for Kevin, a 19-year-old college student in Quebec, Canada, who was killed when a 900-pound Coca-Cola machine tipped over on him after he shook it. He was trapped under the machine and asphyxiated. The coroner's report cited 35 deaths and 140 injuries in 20 years in North America at that time. Coca-Cola responded by placing stickers on their machines warning not to tip them or rock them, at least in Canada. I believe the same's true in the United States as well. So, more recent, let's see, National Electronic Injury Surveillance System has statistics on vending machine injuries. The annual average from 2002 to 2015 was 4 deaths out of 1,730 injuries per year, making it the 10th most dangerous item out of 15 in the office and school category. In that category, playground equipment is far and away number one with over 135,000 injuries per year, followed by scissors at almost 16,000 injuries per year. Let's see. The type of injuries you get from a vending machine was 20% to the head, 13% to the hand, 12.5% to the upper trunk, 8.5% to the face, smacked in the face by a vending machine, and 7% to the whole body, as in a tip over. The diagnosis were over 25% contusion and abrasion, 17% laceration, 10% strain or sprain, 8% internal injury. The good news is that under 11% of those seeking medical care were hospitalized. The vast majority were treated and released or left without treatment. So, yeah, I mean, could be any number of things too, you know, people working on them, sticking their hand in there to try to pull a part out or something and cutting it on a sharp piece of metal, or, you know, any number of things. But I do know that I had saw before once about them falling over on individuals when they would, because we've all had that experience where we go to get our bag of Cheetos and the bag of Cheetos just doesn't fall down to the door where you can get it. So, you know, probably all of us have at one time or another tried shaking the machine to get it to fall. I know I have, you know, so it is what it is. I just happen to not have died from it. So anyway, let's see. Got one here from Alaska Prepper. Titled First 10 Things to Do After the Bank Collapse. As long as I get the right window. There we go.
Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. So as you can see on the title, these are going to be the first 10 things that I would do if there was some kind of an economic collapse or a systemic financial crisis where the banks were closed and the ATMs were not working. Now let me make a quick announcement before we start. Congratulations again to the previous winners of our last giveaway. All of the prizes were claimed and they've all been shipped out and or received already. So congratulations again, and thank you very much to everyone who participated. Now stick around to the end of this video, ladies and gentlemen, because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to explain to you guys what are the first 10 things that I'm going to do in case something like this were to happen. And I would like you guys to participate by jotting down the first 10 things you guys would do. And whoever's comments gets the most thumbs up is going to win one of these nice little Olight flashlights. Now this is a small and inexpensive flashlight. They're only like $10. However, it's what I use for my everyday carry, and it is an outstanding flashlight. It's like 90 lumens, and whoever wins it, I'm sure will enjoy having it because, like I said, it's a very high quality, very good flashlight to have. Fits great on your keychain and or in your pocket. So let's get started. So imagine if you woke up in the morning and you heard in the news that the stock market has crashed, that the banks are closed, that the ATMs are not allowing people to withdraw money. What would you do? So the first thing I would do is I would call into work. After which I would retrieve my emergency stash of cash. Get with my neighbors, set up some security so that my neighbors and I and my family can go on a shopping trip that day. Now, depending on how many vehicles are involved, I would say that the more vehicles, the better. Being that this is the first day, people are not going to be panicking, but there are going to be opportunities out there that you can take advantage of. But first, you're going to have to take care of the things that are most important to you. That is why your list may not match mine, because depending what part of the world you're in, what your situation is, what preps you already have, will depend on what things you would do. The main point of this video is to get you to start thinking, what would you do? Okay, so number 2, I would go to the gas station and I will fill up every single empty can that I could get a hold of with gasoline. I would top off all of my vehicles, in addition to topping off any gas cans I could get a hold of that would hold heating fuel, and fill up my propane tanks and get as many as I can get a hold of. That's the first priority that I would have in spending the cash that I had on hand. Now remember, it's recommended, I'm not a financial advisor, but it's recommended, and I think it's a good idea, that a person have a minimum of 1 to 2 months, if not up to 6 months, of expenses in the form of cash, not necessarily in your home, but somewhere where you can actually get a hold of it physically without having to go to the bank to get it. Because if the banks close, then you're going to be out of luck with your cash in the bank and not having any way to get it out of there. The third thing I would do is I would go to the supermarket, get as many fresh protein items as I can. And what happens is, or at least what I've noticed that happens in the area that I live in, is whenever there's going to be a power outage that lasts more than a day or two, the supermarkets, they sell their meats, their fresh meats and their fresh produce and products at a discount, because they know that they're not going to be able to keep those refrigerators and or freezers going long term enough to be able to keep those products good. So they usually put them on sale for like half off. This actually happened here last year. The fourth thing I would do is I would go to the pharmacy and stock up on all of the over-the-counter pain relief and basic everyday first aid and hygiene items. Now, depending on what supermarket you go to, like if I go to Costco, I may be able to do that at the same time, which would be optimal, because in a situation like this, time would be of the essence. The fifth thing is I would stock up on as many batteries as I possibly can. And not only batteries like AA's, AAA's, batteries that go into small electronic devices, but I would try to get my hands on some deep cycle batteries that can be used in conjunction with my small solar system. Number 6, I would top off my 1,000-gallon water system, and I would purchase as much bottled water as I can haul back. Number 7, I would buy enough sanitary items such as toilet paper, hygiene items that I know may not be available in the near future should this crisis turn into a long-term crisis. And ladies and gentlemen, it's very simple to determine how much toilet paper, let's say for example, you would require. Just multiply the number of rolls that your family uses in a week's time, and then multiply that number of rolls times 52. That's how many rolls you're going to need for a year. I would get at least 2 years worth. Why? Because toilet paper is easy to store. It doesn't have to be temperature controlled. As long as you keep it away from pests and rodents, it should be okay. Number 8, I would purchase black plastic and plywood. The black plastic I would purchase so that I can use to make blackout curtains. Again, just in case this crisis turns into a long-term crisis, you're not going to want to alert your neighborhood that you're still doing well by having light, and the plywood that you get can be used to barricade your windows and or your doors should you need to. Number 9, I'm going to go to the supermarket again, probably on the second day. And I'm going to go to other stores like sporting goods stores on the second day. Maybe not so much the third day, because if this is still going on by the third day, I believe that by the third day, things will start getting a little sketchy out there. Being that on the second or even third day, most of the cash that people already had on hand, since most people don't really keep a lot of cash on hand, they would have already used that up. So what does that mean? That means that in your area, there may be somewhat of a deflationary crisis, meaning that there's not enough cash to go around, giving the stores, supermarkets, pharmacies, gas stations, wherever it is that you go, an incentive to sell their items at a lower cost because they know that people just don't have cash. So if you still have a bit of cash reserves by the second or maybe early into the third day, you may be able to get a lot more for that cash than what you were able to get on the first day. Number 10, depending on what day of the week this occurs, I would have definitely called into work and stayed home with my ears to the ground in order to provide security assistance to my community and gauge whether this is going to be a short or long-term crisis. And number 11, ladies and gentlemen, I would definitely keep all of my receipts. Because this may sound kind of funny, but I would definitely keep all of my receipts, because if for some reason we have a financial collapse and some miracle happens to where everything is back up and running and we have cash back in the system and the banks open up like in a week or so, you can always bring back a lot of the things that you know that you don't immediately need. You know, like the deep cycle batteries, things like that. You can always keep all of the food that you bought and medicine that you bought and toilet paper that you bought, because you know that those things will be of use to you in the near future. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a quick list of some of the things that I thought that I would do during the first 2 or 3 days of a crisis in the banking system. And the reason that I chose a crisis occurring within the banking system is because personally, that is what I feel is going to get us before anything else. I think that before we have a food crisis, I think that before we have any other crises that is considered a systemic crisis, meaning that it's widespread, that the economy is what's going to take a plunge first. However, it doesn't matter if that's what happens. It could be anything else. So considering that I'm already pretty well prepared, this is the list that I came up with. Now, like I said before, if you would like to participate and put a list of 10 things that you would do first, should something like this happen, please do, and you'll be entered to win the Olight flashlight that you saw in the beginning of the video. And whoever gets the most thumbs up on their comment showing the list of things they would do first will win that Olight flashlight, and I'll have it shipped off to you. I will go ahead and close the window to leaving comments and leaving thumbs up on comments until Friday of next week. So not this Friday, the 1st of November, but the Friday that's the 8th of November. And then I'll disclose the winner on that Sunday's video. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you participate, not just because you want to win a small flashlight, but because I think this would really help a lot of us get a gauge on the things that we may not be thinking about. Because, you know, many hands make little work, right? So when we all put all of our ideas together, we can all benefit from each other's ideas and each other's answers. So I hope that you all participate, and I'm happy to give away the flashlight so that somebody can get something out of it. So having said that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. Let me give you guys a reminder about this Sunday. There will not be a live chat this Sunday. No live chat premiere. However, I do have a payday prep going out this week, and I do believe that there will be a short video for Sunday as well. Just no payday, just no live chat premiere. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. I truly do hope you participate, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And listen, if you would like to support the channel, please just take a look at the links below. Everything down there costs you $0. If you're going to do shopping, use my links. It helps the channel, and it doesn't cost you any more money. So thank you very much for joining in. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place.
Blessings to you and your family.
Victor says many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper. I'm out.
Alrighty, and probably the only point that I really want to mention that I disagree with him on that is that he thinks that like second day in, that a lot of these stores and all of that are going to lower their prices. No, not going to happen. I'm telling you, they're going to raise them. The prices are going to go through the roof. They don't care whether or not you can afford them. All they care about is who can. That's the type of society that we live in. Look at any type of natural disaster, hurricanes, tornadoes, normally hurricanes. Every time there's a hurricane that hits the United States, you will hear about different gas stations and convenience stores and stuff like that actually wind up getting in trouble with the law for price gouging, okay, every single time. So it's in this country's nature that they raise the prices up when there's trouble coming. So, yeah, I disagree with that. Maybe up where he's at, because I would imagine that society up there in Alaska is quite a bit different than society here. Okay, there's not enough people up there to quite be like it is here, if you follow what I'm saying. I would assure you that there are much nicer, kind-hearted people up there, because they have to, right? They have to. Man, there's places up in Alaska that, you know, they have to go very long periods of time sometimes before they get like another shipment of food or another shipment of whatever, because the machinery, whether it be planes or whatever the case is, simply cannot make it there. So, you know, they have to work together. They're used to having that community mindset because they have to work together to survive. Down here in the lower 48, that's not the case. That's not the case. But anyway, I just figured I would make note of that. Got one from the Prepared Mind here, titled All New Examples of Reruns and Do-Overs.
Hello and welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I gotta tell you, we're dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are glad we are here. And thank you again for supporting us. Be sure and share these videos. Get the word out. Get it out. You know, technical difficulties in California? Isn't this the home of high-tech computers, hardware development, and ingenious ideas coming to life? Why is it we can't even have our power be consistently operating? Why are our dams failing? Why are our roads some of the worst in the country? Why? You know, it just it occurred to me this morning that this is a big fat do-over. Yeah, do-over. We've seen this sort of thing in the past. Some do-overs are just a matter of weeks old. Some do-overs are years old, and some are generations old. But they're all do-overs. It's as if we just don't seem to learn our lessons. And by we, I mean the people in charge, right? The smart guys. They're supposed to know what's going on. They're supposed to be protecting us, looking out for us. Don't we pay them really well for that in government? And don't corporate people and the world of banking, aren't they supposed to know what the hell they're doing? They get paid millions of dollars. Shouldn't they have a better idea? Anyways, reruns and do-overs, right? We've seen all this before. I want to start with a story from over the weekend. Al-Baghdadi, ISIS ding-dong, right? Terrorist guy. He blew himself up, apparently, and a couple of kids, but we're celebrating. But see, he's been blown up before. This guy has managed to kill himself, or rather blow something up, or someone, and then he disappears in the smoke and the dust. This is a great trick. Well, he's dead now. I guess we can stop looking for him. So yeah, not only has he done that before, but he probably learned that, you know, from bin Laden. I think bin Laden was killed, what? Arguments are anywhere from 3 to 5 times we had to kill bin Laden before we finally had to stop killing bin Laden. And even then, during the last death, we never did get to see bin Laden. You know, they wrapped him up in the sheet and dumped him out in the sea. I mean, the whole thing is a sham. It's a rerun. We've seen this game before. And speaking of reruns, here's a recent one that's a rerun. Old Dudley of the Federal Reserve, back in August, he politicized the Federal Reserve, which is supposed to be an independent banking institution. What did he do? He said, hey, we need to get Trump out of here, so let's not do anything he wants. That caused a firestorm. Well, guess what? The ding-dong is back. He's doing a rerun. He's doing a do-over. But this time, he's kind of reversed. Well, we need to stop a recession and a depression, says Dudley. If their goal is a healthy economy, then they need to reduce rates, he's saying. Well, a healthy economy doesn't come about from low rates, or they would take rates low and leave them low and have an amazing economy. That's not how it works. They bring in the rates to lower them to try and get us out of a recession, depression. The economy is fucked up for reasons altogether entirely different. If cheap money was going to fix the economy, it would have worked by now. Anyways, Dudley's flip-flopping, right? He's getting political. He's a Trump hater. He does not want Trump in there. But why did he flip-flop? Why is he politicizing the Fed again? My opinion is I think the bankers have realized that as bad as Trump may be to them, for whatever reason that is, the idea of having screaming socialists in there fighting to take their money, they're not happy about. They don't feel they can control screaming socialists any more than they can control Donald J. Trump. Now, something else that's continuing to occur, it's the rerun that keeps on giving. Markets are showing bad numbers. Investment markets, Wall Street, showing bad numbers and reports. But it's still surging higher. In Europe, it's all-time highs. It's surging higher. Why? Well, because the banks continue to inject cash into the market. It's money for nothing and your chicks for free. There's no panic by anyone, no concern, no volatility. Why? Because they're injecting this money in there to keep it propped up. They've been doing this and doing it as if there's no consequence. There is a consequence. There's always a consequence for doing this. They just haven't had to realize the consequences yet. But they're doing it again and again and again. And people are convincing themselves, see, everything must be fine because they're doing this again and again. There's going to be a price to pay. And it's going to have to, come out of your pocket. Anyway, speaking of things that are happening again and again, these are big, massive shit. It's the fan clues. Reruns. We're seeing history repeating itself. Yet we're continuing to go down this road. Unemployment. It's at all-time lows. That must mean the economy is rocking, doesn't it? No, actually, it's an indicator to the opposite. It indicates that a recession is coming. Right? Things are way out of, I guess you could say, way out of plumb, way out of level. They're not right, out of balance. And the reaction is to lay people off in big, big cycles. Once they announce and once it's apparent the recession is here. For the time being, it's camouflaged. For the time being, these people that get paid millions of dollars think everything is fine, and they're just happy as pigs in shit because they're lining their retirement, they're lining their bank accounts, and so they're keeping employment nice and low. But every time it gets to this super, super low, all-time lows, and then pow, something snaps. And speaking of something snapping, Trump left Syria, says we're getting out of there. Then he says, well, we're sending troops back, just a few of them, because we're taking Syria's oil. Did Syria agree to that? Did Russia and Turkey agree to that? Did the UN agree to that? This is really bizarre. I don't know if it falls in to rerun or a do-over with why we're in Syria. Trump wants Exxon or somebody, some great American oil company, to go in there and take their oil. Now, to me, this is just mystifying. What is this all about? I don't think we're getting an adequate explanation. And it's typical. Before we have economic problems, that political moves become more and more mysterious and counterintuitive to what you would think needs to be done. Now, does the counterintuitive behavior, does that cause shit to hit the fan? market crash, war? Or is it a symptom of the war coming and the market crashing? Or is it both? They both feed each other. And speaking of feeding each other and feeding off each other, the parasites known as politicians, this is great. Joe Biden says Hunter did nothing wrong while sitting on the board of the Ukrainian gas company. Well, while he was sitting on the board, right? Let's just say he was sitting in a chair at the boardroom. Well, no, that's not where the crime was. Sitting there didn't do anything. It was how he got the job. It's whose arm was twisted. Who was told quid pro quo, you get that, judge and prosecutor out of there. It was what Biden did that was wrong. Hunter didn't do shit wrong. I'm going to have to agree with Joe. Biden is the one who did a lot of things wrong. That is the problem. It wasn't Hunter. It was Joe. All right, and moving on to things that are just wrong. This is one of those long cycle. This is one of those empire-long cycles that indicate shit is going to hit the fan. And sometimes, well, I'm going to have to say, sometimes it precedes an entire empire crumbling to the ground, crumbling to pieces. An Olympic coach has come out and said trans women, meaning men who want to be women, by competing, they're ruining sports and ruining women's sports. And this is interesting. This is a social aspect of the decline of a civilization and a culture. The advent of things that normally, for centuries at a time, are considered abominable, wrong, immoral. They're looked down on. They're considered freakish. Right now, men want to be women, and then they want to compete in women's sports. It is crazy. They want to compete in women's sports. Why? I mean, seriously, why? Where are they going with this? Well, they want to be women, but they still want to be athletes. But women, biological women who have DNA and chromosomes that say you are a woman, right? And the men, they still have men chromosomes and all the men muscles and bone structure and everything else. Well, women can't beat the men, even when men are taking women's hormones. And this is truly a ridiculous example of how immoral behavior leads to the destruction of everything. Right now, it's just destroying sports. But we're seeing this a change in our traditions and cultures. It's ruining marriage. It's ruining the family. They're ruining education. Right? The country's being literally ruined. It's rotting. It is a fetid, rotting mess because of ridiculous thoughts like, well, we're all the same. Equal rights, yes. Equal physically, no. You can change your gender? No, you're never going to be the other gender. All you can do is change outward appearance and artificially use hormones to create an artificial state of being that is other than where you're at. But this is a mental decision. This is someone's mind telling them it's a good idea. So it's not a physical abnormality, it's a mental abnormality that we're now being told is not abnormal. It is normal to want to be another gender. It is normal to want to cut off your genitals and live your life as another gender. You know, I'm not judging and saying they're wrong. I'm saying look at what the symptoms are. Look at what this causes. This is a rerun. Shit like this has happened in the past. Not to the extent this has, but this is another example. And it's crazy. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And speaking of mind-blowing, I'm going to read to you several names. I'm just going to read them off. France, Spain, Chile, Ecuador, Algeria, Hong Kong, Bolivia, Lebanon, Egypt, Iraq. What do those countries have in common besides using letters? What they have in common is they're having protests and riots. Protests and riots, incredible. Absolutely incredible. The number of countries joining the massive protest against government, against corruption, against being imprisoned, right? And there's countries where there would be protests, except the governments tend to stop them with brutal force, right, China? And I'm even going to say, right, United States? Our protests, if they get big, they get shut down. Apparently, from what I read, in Ecuador, they had 1 million protesters. Imagine the fans from 20 football stadiums, 50,000 people in each stadium. Every NFL fan showing up in one city and flocking, crowding, cramming their way in to protest. And that wasn't the United States. It was the little, teeny, silly, ridiculous country called Ecuador. Ecuador. Holy cow. Right? This is a rerun, mass, worldwide protest at corruption. At corruption, over political corruption and injustice. We have seen and heard this before. American Revolution, French Revolution. I'll even go so far as to say Bolshevik Revolution. They were objecting to the corruption of the government. Now, I'm not saying the government that replaced it was any better. In fact, it was worse. But it is the protest, it is the riots, and it turns into revolutions. This is incredibly scary to see so many countries at the same time with no alternative other than to run to their leaders and scream and yell and protest that it is unfair, unjust, and corrupt. That's a fucking clue, don't you think? That is a clue. That's a big clue. It's inescapably apparent that there are problems worldwide. Shit hitting the fan? You bet. You bet. So, to end this, I want to last one I want to touch on here is before the 2008 crash, there were several economists who would go on TV and say things are getting bad, they're getting bad, it's going to get bad, and Peter Schiff was one, another one was Michael Pinto. And Pinto has come out again, and he says the Fed is panicking to stop a depression. His interview he did was on USA Watchdog over the weekend, so go to USA Watchdog if you want to listen to about an hour of Pinto explaining this, and I found Michael Pinto to be extremely accurate. Now, the timing of everything, of course, they're kicking the can down the road, pumping money in. They're rerunning that game over the top of Pinto's rerun of shit is getting bad fast, right? The overnight funding of interbank lending, not between the banks themselves, but now by the Federal Reserve Bank, injecting its capital and putting its foot in the game so it keeps things floating. That's one indicator. There are many indicators, but everything's fine. Same as last time, same rerun. It's the same do-over. You got Pinto there, you got Peter Schiff, you got others screaming, we've got a recession and a depression coming, we've got huge issues, and it needs to be fixed now. We need to get it fixed now. And this is a rerun, but I tell you what, the rerun that should bother you the most is how this rerun ends. It can end in revolution, war, market collapse. That's called shit hitting the fan, folks, and that's why we're here. This is what the rerun is getting to. When we get to the end of this episode of this rerun, from the lunatics who are more concerned about what it is that's in their pants and what their gender is, to the theft and graft, to the lying, the stealing, the cheating, is it any wonder that shit is going to hit the fan? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. Get it together. Get ready. Be prepared, because it's not going to get better. It's going to get a whole lot worse before any of this gets fixed. chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Thank you again for supporting us. Share, like, subscribe, become a patron over at patreon.com. All those things. We need your support as much as you need the information and opinions and thoughts to consider, adopt, reject, make your own, or like a salad bar, pick and choose what you need to so that you have the understanding you need so that you are prepared. I'll talk to you again very soon. Thanks again.
Alrighty. Oh, man. I tell you. Let's see. Okay, got one from Survival Dispatch here, but I see in the description a company named CountyCom. I love CountyCom. The topic is going to be mechanical watches. Man, I'll tell you what. If you don't want to have a heart attack, don't go look at the price of the watches at CountyCom. They're like really, really high dollar watches. I'm sure that John and Chris are going to highly recommend getting a mechanical watch. I will second that notion, or should I say third that notion. However, you don't have to go spend several $100s. I will say this though, as the owner of an inexpensive mechanical watch, don't spend as little as you can on one. The one that I got won't even keep proper time. So, I would say if you're looking to get a mechanical watch, I would say around the $100 range or just a little over would probably be a fairly decent range. And I would say, you probably want to try to get what they call an automatic watch that winds itself. That's what I got, but I've got, I think, a $20 to $30 mechanical watch that's automatic, and like I say, it runs fast, and there's no way for me to adjust it, so I'm just kind of stuck with what it gives me. So, that's an area I need to look in because it is something that I need to get as well is a good mechanical watch that keeps proper time. So when I get there to looking at those, I'll make sure that I recommend those that I think would be able to keep good time, hold up to the test of time, and maybe take a beating, hopefully so. But anyway, Survival Dispatch with a video titled Mechanical Watches.
Hey guys, it's Chris here at Survival Dispatch, and I'm letting John hang out for this video. He's excited.
I'm not going to say anything. This is why I don't let you intro videos.
Jeez. Mine are way more fun. But today we were talking earlier about watches. Timepieces,
yeah.
and and I personally have an affinity for mechanical watches. I like the simplicity of mechanical watches that either need to be wound every day, like this one. This is a CountyCom. They make a really nice watch. This thing's also pretty sterile on the front. No labels, just time.
Yeah.
Numbers, that's it. No names, no nothing. And then even on the back, there's no, it does have the name, which is Martac, but that's by CountyCom. And so this version has to be wound daily, or at least every couple days. And then there's automatics, which I'm a big fan of automatics as well. I really like those.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fantastic brands out there. I tend to lean towards a company called Lumtech, Lumtec. They make just fantastic watches. Just the ruggedness that's built into them. I mean, they're freaking PVD coated, and it just I've tried to beat the mess out of these Lumtech watches, and automatic. So I mean, as long as you're kind of
this is automatic too.
You're kind of, as long as your wrist moving, it is.
Yeah, if you wear it, if you're like wearing your watch every day and you're just in your daily activity, whatever, these things will stay working in perpetuity.
Yeah, and like the Lumtechs have like a 36 hour, so you can go a little bit more than a day before before it has to be wound a little bit. But, you know, the reason we're talking about watches is we live in a technology-driven world where most everything's gone digital. Now everything's pretty much going smart watches. You know, and got to charge them pretty much every single day. And manual watches are still have some benefits.
Well, to me,
over electronics.
They have some huge benefits to me. Number one, the battery will never go dead in this watch. You'll never need to replace it. So this is a timepiece that will work in perpetuity. It will work forever, barring some catastrophic failure. That's what I like about them. I don't have to worry about storing batteries. I don't have to worry about it going dead. It's just the kind of thing you don't have to think about. Now, if you goof around and, let's say in a grid down thing, and you let your watch stop,
you're done. Then,
yeah, you don't know what time it is unless you got a farmer's almanac and you can look up sunrise, then you can reset it. But yeah, you got to make sure you keep it wound up. You know, no lights. I mean, but like both of these, if you hit them with a light, they'll glow.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably can be able to see it.
Lumtex are just the luminescence that they put on their handles and stuff. You can definitely see it at the middle of the night.
You can even see that just a little bit that I hit it for a second with this light. But they do a really good job.
But why do you still gravitate towards wearing a non-digital watch?
Well, I've never been a digital watch fan.
Yeah.
I've always liked mechanical watches because it's easier for me to glance at it and tell the time. And then two, I can also use this for navigation if I need to, which is a big thing to me. But I wear this same watch. This is actually Nikki's because I didn't wear my watch today because watches are for people that have places to be on time.
And he's never on time.
Well, actually, I am. Whenever I show up is exactly when I'm supposed to be here. But on my watch, I also have a Kaminga wrist compass that has the world needle in it, so wherever the hell I'm at, the thing will work. But if I didn't have my compass, you can still use your watch to get at least a north, south, east, west bearing, general location. That's why I like it.
And I bounce back and forwards, you know. The amount of phone calls and stuff that I do business-wise, there's times where I'll wear a smartwatch. But like for the last couple of months, I just got tired of them. I got tired of constantly being able to be reached. And I know people would be like, oh, you can turn, you know, do not disturb and all that. And I'd rather just wear an automatic winding watch. And so I've started, you know, wearing Lumtex even more lately. And I've loved it.
Well, and too, you know, when you look at the higher end, finer watches, you know, you get into Rolexes and Breitlings and things like that. Almost all of them are a dial watch.
Yeah.
They're not digital watches, so that says something too. When I look at somebody's watch, if they're wearing a, you know, standard face watch as opposed to a digital, it says something about them to me.
Yeah.
You know, and digital watches have their place. I'm not knocking them. If you're the digital watch people, that's great. It's personal preference. I just like not having to change batteries in a watch. I like not having to worry about that. And I like the simplicity and the lines of something like this.
And I think, you know, a mechanical watch is something to have in your preps, just like you were saying, even if you did wear a digital watch every day. And, you know, and I still like things like my Sunto Core watch, you know, I'll wear that from time to time. Battery lasts about a year on it, you know. But it's one of those things where if you pair it with a mechanical watch, you're good either way.
Yeah.
You know, and there's been times literally where Chris and I have jumped in the truck and taken off, and it's been late at night, and I hit my Sunto light, and I was like, and the battery's going dead, because the light is the first thing to go on the Sunto. So you're like, oh, I know my watch is going to stop before I get home. So, you know, I like wearing a mechanical watch. I think
and then I'm like, oh, I need to wind mine.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where you can find, like, I like the CountyCom watches a lot, and they're very reasonable.
Yeah, they're reasonably priced. I mean, they're more expensive than like a G-Shock, you know, or something like that. You're going to pay a little bit more money, you know. But these are Swiss times, Swiss movements in here, sapphire glass, stainless steel. They're just really nice to me. It's just clean looking, and that's one of the big things.
So, you know, we just thought we would shoot a quick video for all of you, you know, watch aficionados out there. Feel free to comment below on what kind of watch you carry and why. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, leave suggestions below. So make sure you hit that like button and the notifications so you know every time we post a video. And until next time, stay safe.
Catch you guys later.
Gotta love how he says, oh, they're affordable. Check this out. Check this out. Now, by the way, those loom techs, I looked those up. Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. You're talking, there's some of them that run over $1,000 for those loom tech. I don't get it. I do not get it. I do not get it. And I don't want to get it. You know, to me, it makes no sense. Let's see. Pilot watch, crown stem, tube assembly. Yeah, just literally that, just the crown, the stem, and the tube, not the watch, just that little part right there, $32.50. But here's one of the watches that they have already put together, ready to go, $425. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know if they have any of the movements, but that's an option you have as well. You can actually build your own watch, and you can do it somewhat reasonably. It's not usually too horribly bad. You go out, I guess they're sold out of this one here, $315 for that watch there. But you can go and like, let's see, Swiss watch. We'll just put auto mechanical movement. I know a lot of words, but there's something specific that I'm looking for, right? So if you do that, you can actually come up with a plethora of websites on building your own watches. And it's a more inexpensive way of building a really kick-ass watch. Now, see, this one here is going to be an automatic because that's what that weight is. It's got a weight there. That's what that, I think that's a weight. I'm not sure on that one. But nonetheless, there's one that I guarantee you is an automatic. $41.95, right? Oh, well, it's Chinese. It's not a Swiss one. But nonetheless, these movements here, even the Chinese ones, they're going to be decent, right? They're not going to be horrible because they're selling the movement by itself. And then what you do is you go through, this actually looks like a good route to go. Then what you do is you turn around, and those are movements, right? And then you go in and you find your different parts. The crowns that I was talking about, these are different crowns, right? So you could put whatever type of crown that you want on your own watch. What do they call? Watch case tubes, watch bows. I'm trying to think of what they would call the case itself. The crystals, those are obviously the glass on there. So you could put whatever glass that you want on it. What's a watch bow? I don't know what they're going to call. Oh, I see. Those are for like pocket watches. I don't know what they would call the actual batteries, crystals, band pins, band parts, parts assortment, crowns, watch gaskets, hands. Yeah, I'm sure that they have the housings, but I don't know what they call them. Don't know what they call them. Hang on. Let's look under part assortments. Might be able to find something there. Oh, no, that's something totally different. And then maybe they don't have the cases or the housings here. But nonetheless, my whole point is you can actually build one for relatively cheap. A decent quality watch you could build for under $100, and be able to put a really decent unit, movement, I should say, in it. So you don't have to go out and spend hundreds. Don't do all that crazy stuff. That's insanity. Unless you've got the money and that's your thing, that's insanity. You buy a hell of a lot of food for what some of these people pay for these watches. So anyway, it is what it is. I wished I could remember what they called that though. You would think they would call it cases or housings or something like that, but maybe they don't. Maybe they don't actually have those. And again, that's just one website. There's, tons of websites that you can find that do that type of thing. So, let's see. Let me grab you guys another video here. But I mean, that way you can put your own face on it and all of that good stuff. So you could totally customize it however it is you want it. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. I see here in my email, Bear Independent has just put out another video here titled Prepper Classroom SHTF Caches. So let's go ahead and check that one out.
Hello everybody, my name is Bear with BearIndependent.com. We are in the Prepper Classroom and today we are talking about PPCs and capability kits. Pre-positioned, the best words, they're tremendous. Believe me. Here, watch this. Mexico's gonna build this wall. That's the wall. Everybody tells me it's tremendous. It's tremendous, believe me. Isn't Melania beautiful? Pre-positioned caches. Putting stuff where you think you're gonna need it ahead of time. In a large part, this is prepping. Prepping is what? Stockpiling material goods against potential chaos, coupled with the skill set and the mindset to employ those goods. We covered this in episode 1 of the Prepper Classroom, and I would encourage you, if you have not watched all the previous episodes yet, please go back and watch them. There's a playlist. It's pretty dang convenient. You just click the button and watch. I would also encourage you to get your notebook out and take some notes. So let's talk about PPCs, pre-positioned caches, and capabilities kits. Pre-position means exactly that. We're putting this in, we are emplacing these kits, putting them where we need them before we need them. That's a PPC. Capabilities kit is pretty much the same thing, and I will probably use these terms interchangeably. However, a capabilities kit has a specific mission in mind. Let's say that your job was to be behind a low brick wall on the grassy knoll waiting for a presidential limo to come around a curve in Dealey Plaza. And there was a rifle waiting for you with your name on it. Now, granted, there was a guy seen carrying that rifle. This is not that video, but where did that rifle come from? Somebody emplaced that rifle. Okay? There are rumors of emplaced ordnance all around the world that has been put there by 3-letter agencies and more letter agencies and various elements within the DoD that should we need it, it is already there, okay? And a big part of that is capabilities kits. What is the mission? If your mission is to shoot the cap off of this marker at 1,000 meters with a precision rifle, but you can't get through customs carrying a precision rifle, there will be one there waiting for you when you get there. The how it got there, you have no idea. You just know that it's there and what to do with it when you're done with it. And sometimes you might recover the equipment and ordnance. Other times you might ditch it, burn it, throw it in a river, whatever. So let's get into this. This is the concept behind PPCs and capabilities kits. And we're going to talk about this in the regards of a prepper, a preparedness mindset. Why would we need this? Okay. So first question, we'll come over here to El Whiteboardo, which is Espanol for the whiteboard. Believe me, I'm the oso independiente. What? The what is mission specific. What is going to be in these kits depends entirely upon what we're trying to do. Okay, if the mission is to fix a broken leg on a goat, the PPC is going to look entirely different than shooting the cap off of this marker at 1,000 meters. Okay, different equipment, different skill sets, which we'll get to. let's say maybe the mission is to render material aid in the form of healthcare services in an economically depressed area. You are the doc, you are the trauma medic, you are the nurse. The stuff will be there when you get there. That is a capabilities kit. Entirely different than the mission is 4 of us are going to kit up and we're going to hit this target at 3 o'clock in the morning. We're going to go in guns blazing because we know everybody in there is a scumbag and they need to be properly ventilated. Okay? Entirely different skill set. So you have a different mission, which means you have different capabilities in your capabilities kit. Okay, so the what is mission specific. Is this something that we're going to use during bug out, which we'll talk about? Is this something that will be employed in an offensive or defensive role? Maybe tyranny has come to a head and we need to be in a position to stave off tyranny and refresh the tree of liberty, right? Demonetized. Welcome to my channel. Or is this a resupply or redundancy issue? Because remember, one of the foundational cornerstones of this channel is there is no resupply. You are your own resupply. So when that last mag is empty and your bolt holds open and there's no more there's no more of that, where do you go? Battlefield pickup, bro. Yes, that's an option, but isn't it also nice to have resupply and redundancy? Okay, so the what varies based upon the mission, and we will talk about bug out here in a minute. Now, what's in such a kit could be things like food, water, and food might be Mountain House. It might be MREs. It might be summer sausage and hard cheese. It might be, you know, your standard groceries that come from the grocery store, depending on what the mission is. Maybe the mission is to simply observe a target, and where the kit has been emplaced is in a residential house, and the capabilities kit includes all of the groceries that a man and his wife, because hey honey, we're new to the neighborhood, and hi, I'm Joe and this is Jill and we're here just to buy whatever. Okay, it could be food, any kind of food, something to keep you alive. Water, it could be water bottles, it could be water filtration, water treatment, water, actual filtering elements. It could be all kinds of anything, full canteens to smart water bottles to 55-gallon drums, whatever. Weapons, that could be everything from handguns to long guns to other things to whatever. Okay, but weapons, some type of weaponry if the mission calls for it. If you require redundancy in that area, or if part of your mission is an offensive/defensive mission where you're going to take and hold an area, or we have this as a fallback position that as we're being pursued, we can flee from here to here. So you may have weapons in place, especially because of the extreme rash of boating accidents lately. You never know. It's been insane here. Probably about the last 9 years or so, boating accidents have just been crazy. I don't know what possessed me to put every single firearm I own on a boat, and then that time that I hit that sandbar and it just sunk. But I really wish I hadn't, because now got nothing. Cash, whether this is greenbacks or physical currency or whatever, some kind of cash. Navigation. Yes, maps, compass, GPS. If you want to be really OPSEC-y, this should not be programmed or marked. Your people should know where they're going and what they're doing. You don't want a bunch of marked up maps laying around, because counter intel, if they grab a hold of your intel, it's going to go, oh, they're going here, which we'll get to in a minute. Cover could be, it's anything that's in between you and the elements, but it can also be your cover story. Documentation, here's your passport, Joe and Jill, or whatever, okay? So cover and docs can go hand in hand, but something that substantiates the fact that you're supposed to be there, and or something that's in between you and the elements. So depending on the mission, if you're bugging out, that might be a Gore-Tex parka. If you're assessing a target in a residential neighborhood, your cover might be, well, he works remotely as a contractor for Microsoft, and I'm just really excited about running for PTA. okay? That's your cover. Whatever, okay? And then cover and docs go hand in hand. Your docs might be redundancy on your actual documentation, you know, photocopies. This is something I see all the time, especially in things that are most likely to happen in the preparedness world, the things that we should be preparing for: hurricanes, tornadoes, forest fires, flooding, things of that nature. People don't have backups of their documentation. You don't have a photocopy of your driver's license, social security card, your birth certificate, your homeowner's insurance on your vehicles, titles on your house, your cars, your boats, all that. All of that you should have physical copies of, and they should be in a dry bag in your rucksack. And people go, well, that's my inch bag, not my bug out bag, bear. And I'm like, I don't care what stupid title you put on it, have it. Because I've seen people's lives derailed for years because they could not prove that they owned this piece of land, or they could not prove that they are who they say they are, or they lost their bank card or whatever. Have backups. I don't care what bag you put it in and what you call it. That's like kindergarten level preparedness. Well, this is my inch bag, and this is my bug out bag, and this is my get home bag, and this is my car kit, and this. I don't care. That's fine. We don't play those games. This is graduate level stuff, okay? I don't care what color your favorite crayon is in the kindergarten class where you decided that today we're going to talk about bug out bags versus get home bag. I don't care. Have this stuff because I've seen people's lives ruined by it, okay? Commo. Whatever. This could be, you know, spare cell phone batteries. This could be ham radios. This could be encrypted radios. This could be something as simple as a signal mirror. This could be something as simple as meet this guy at this time in this place, or over the next 3 days there will be a window of opportunity between 10 and 11 a.m. at this place. You're going to sit in the booth at this restaurant that faces south. You're going to be looking for a guy wearing a red toboggan hat and shades. Commo. What's your commo plan? Meet up with red toboggan hat guy. That's your commo plan. Intel. The area that you're operating in. Have you done an area study? Highly recommended that you go watch the Forward Observer channel, do an area study. You should know where you are in 4-dimensional space-time on the battlefield of life, okay? Meds, medical, this could be blowout kits, this could be antibiotics, this could be all kinds of stuff, life-saving medications if you need it. VIX, vehicles, in many a capability kit, can include a vehicle, a pre-positioned vehicle, or vehicles, depending on what it is that you're doing. So this is not the be-all, end-all. As always with these classroom videos, it's to get you thinking about how these concepts apply to your situation. I don't want you to do specifically and precisely what I say you should do. I want you to take what I say and apply that to your life in such a way that you actually get better by it. And take those notebooks. Notes are great. I want you to take notes. The next thing that you need to do with them is actually go freaking do it. Okay? Go do it. Go forth and do. Next, where? We're going to get into this in a minute. Where are you going to hide this stuff? Safe houses, spider points, and waypoints. There's a difference between a spider point and a waypoint. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to make a note over here. I'm back. Spider points and waypoints. So where can you actually put these things? Well, a big portion of that depends on what the mission is and what it is you're trying to store. Let's say that you have a vehicle and you keep the vehicle in a storage unit, and for the mission that you have here, which is going to be a defensive bug out where we are drawing back from the position that we're in to hold in this position, then we're going to resupply because we have redundancy, hop in the vehicle, and then head out to one of our spider points. In this case, we could have a storage unit with a vehicle in it that has all of this stuff in it, fueled up, ready to go. Okay? Or maybe we have a locker, and you're like, Locker 9. Never read the book, but I've had enough people tell me about it that I got the general concept of what it is. By the way, Angry American, you're cool, man, and we should hang out. We've got this little back and forth going on, so let's do it, brah. Let's do it. And say hello to LL Acres for me as well. Lockers. What about your tribe, your friends, your family? Okay, and this is spider points, waypoints, but can you store some extra stuff at Aunt Millie's place? Okay, random, air quote random. It would just seem completely random. Man, there is stuff all over this globe that is in random places. GPS coordinates, go, here's your Latin longitude, go look, okay, yeah, and there's, you're gonna dig a half a foot down and chunk, you're gonna hit a metal box, open that up, and what do we have here? Imagine that. And to that effect, plain sight. Hiding things in plain sight is phenomenally easy.
Hang on, I gotta back up and hear something. Jen said he shouted out Angry American. It said something about Locker 9 or something, which is actually a Franklin Horton book. So anyway, I backed it up a little bit. I was getting blue inside. Pardon me.
To that in a minute. I'm going to make a note over here. I'm back. Spider points and waypoints. So where can you actually put these things? Well, a big portion of that depends on what the mission is and what it is you're trying to store. Let's say that you have a vehicle and you keep the vehicle in a storage unit, and for the mission that you have here, which is going to be a defensive bug out where we are drawing back from the position that we're in to hold in this position, then we're going to resupply because we have redundancy, hop in the vehicle, and then head out to one of our spider points. In this case, we could have a storage unit with a vehicle in it that has all of this stuff in it, fueled up, ready to go. Okay? Or maybe we have a locker, and you're like, Locker 9. Never read the book, but I've had enough people tell me about it that I got the general concept of what it is. By the way, Angry American, you're cool, man, and we should hang out. We've got this little back and forth going on, so let's do it, brah.
Hang on, let me back this up just a little bit. Copy URL at current time, because I'm going to throw that his way. But actually, that's not Angry American that wrote Locker 9. That was Franklin Horton. But I digress.
And it fueled up, ready to go. Okay? Or maybe we have a locker, and you're like, Locker 9. Never read the book, but I've had enough people tell me about it that I got the general concept of what it is. By the way, Angry American, you're cool, man, and we should hang out. We've got this little back and forth going on, so let's do it, brah. Let's do it. And say hello to LL Acres for me as well. Lockers. What about your tribe, your friends, your family? Okay, and this is spider points, waypoints, but can you store some extra stuff at Aunt Millie's place? Okay, random, air quote random. It would just seem completely random. Man, there is stuff all over this globe that is in random places. GPS coordinates, go, here's your Latin longitude, go look, okay, yeah, and there's, you're gonna dig a half a foot down and chunk, you're gonna hit a metal box, open that up, and what do we have here? Imagine that. And to that effect, plain sight. Hiding things in plain sight is phenomenally easy and accessible like that. I mean, think about, this has been brought into the civilian market. Think about all that furniture and those mantles and those coffee tables and those photographs that hang on the wall and pictures and prints of paintings and all that you hit the button or move the little magnetic latch and psh, AR-15, psh, Mossberg Shockwave, whatever, right? So in plain sight. And again, to get you to think, not to tell you what to do, to get you to think, what can you put where? I mean, people walk by this office all the time. They have no idea what's in it. And to that end, your office. This office that I'm in right now is better prepared than the vast majority of most people's homes. Okay, so your office. And then schools. Now, just to be perfectly clear here, because the internet is full of morons, I'm not advocating that you take any of this and put it here in a school. I do get the question a lot, Bear, how am I supposed to get the 5 C's of survival on my kid who's in a, well, it doesn't even matter anymore, but in my kid who's in an urban or a suburban school, because you can't get away with anything in the rural areas anyway now. I mean, it's not like, I got suspended from school for 2 months when I was a kid because I forgot that I had a little lockback pocket knife that was this big in my pocket. Forgot it. And at lunch, was cleaning my fingernails with it. And you know what I used it for? For cutting hay bales, cutting the baling rope, baling string, twine, there we go, the word's tremendous, on hay bales when I fed our cows in the morning. 2-month out of school suspension because I brought a weapon to school. I'm like, y'all are a bunch of idiots. Yeah, there's the thing you know about Bear. Okay, so schools. How do you get around that? Well, what I say is for the 5 C's, 10 C's, bring everything that you can legally have on property with you in your bag. And this goes for everybody from kindergarten classroom all the way up through college and including college professors and teachers. If you're a 10th grade math teacher, I can't have the things I need on property. Cool. Bring everything you can have with you on property in a bag and then have a pre-positioned cache immediately outside of the footprint of the school somewhere, either random, hidden in plain sight in a storage unit, at a locker, at a friend's house, wherever, where you can have the things that you would need if you had to bug out from school right now. You can't be taking it off and on property, but you can go off property right over here, grab what you need, and now you're in a much better position, not just because you have the stuff, but because you've also trained to use the stuff, right? Okay, so again, concepts here. And then who? How many people is this capabilities kit or PPC designed to deal with, to equip, and what are their roles? Are these, we're looking at combat medic, is this a rescue swimmer? Is this a long-range shooter? Is this a door kicker? Is this somebody whose job is animal husbandry? Is this a veterinarian? Are we bugging out? What are we doing with this kit? Again, coming all the way back up to here, this is mission specific. The what matters. This is not an opportunity to take all of your extra gear and just throw it in a tote box and say, boom, that's my capabilities kit. The what matters, okay? You have to know what you're trying to do, unless the entirety of the reason you're putting this together is redundancy. If it's just to have extra stuff somewhere else, then go for it. You can throw all your extra prepper crap into big totes, store them at Uncle Bob's place, and you're good to go. You have some redundancy there. Otherwise, this matters. It is mission specific. What are we going to do? Okay. Lastly, before we move over to the other whiteboard, and we'll talk about waypoints, spider points, and what would go where and how all this kind of works together. What are you stored in? This could be buckets. This could be totes. Pelican cases are expensive, but very good. I've seen Connex boxes full of stuff. Some Connex boxes full of vehicles that are loaded up with all this and fueled. Now you're getting somewhere. This could be storage units. It could be backpacks. I mean, it can be anything. It could be a tactical fanny pack that has some EDC and some navigation in it. Man, if that's what you need to get from where you are to where there's another capabilities kit somewhere, great. Okay? The how, again, and the who, and the where is all based upon the what, which is why we covered what first. We need that figured out first. Now, let's go over here to this fabulous whiteboard, and let's talk about build the wall. Oh, it's gone. Non-existent, just like the wall we have right now. Yay, government. We'll come over here. All right, so let us say we live right here in the suburbs. See this? This is the suburbs. All right, and so our bug out plan is that we're gonna go over here to this old gas station, and then from this old gas station, we're gonna come over here to our buddy's house that's out in the country. Then from our buddy's house out in the country, about halfway there's this state park, Grove of Trees area, and then from the Grove of Trees State Park, we're gonna come over here to our farm out in the country, okay? Why does this matter? And this is something that we've talked about already. Why does this matter? Let's say from here to here, this is 200 miles, approximately. Now that's a hell of a bug out already because we're just on our first leg, but just bear with me. We'll say this is 200 miles. Actually, you know what? Here, we'll make the whole thing 200 miles. So we'll make this, say, 50 miles. Okay, here, what do I want? Well, maybe here in the suburbs, maybe my suburbs are in New Jersey, where I can't have an AR-15. But over here, man, this is, so here's New Jersey and here's PA, Pennsylvania. Okay, and so over here now, PA, don't go getting all proud of yourselves because your laws are not that great either. But over here, we've got an emplaced cache of weapons, food, and water, navigation, docks, whatever else we need, okay? Right here. So we're gonna load up with the stuff we can't have here, when we get to here. Okay, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't play one on TV, and I'm not advocating that you break the law, okay? Okay. However, dare I say, when the law of the land is tyranny, y'all know what to do. Should we have a little tour of the office right quick? Y'all know what to do. Okay. Now, from here, we're going to jump our next, we'll say this leg is 75 miles. Okay, out here into the country. And by the time we get to here, we're going to need some fuel. And then, I don't know, maybe we have a different vehicle. Maybe I don't know, whatever. From here, and this is waypoints. Waypoints, okay? So we're increasing our capability as we go. We're resupplying and we have redundancy. We're on the defensive, we're bugging out, we're leaving from here to here to here. Okay, and then when we get to this grove of trees, man, we've got, say this is 100 miles right here. And we've got more food, we've got some water, and we've got shelter that we've been placed if we need to spend the night here. Because we're 225 miles to here. And we'll say over here, maybe at this point, we're in West Virginia. By God, West Virginia, okay? And then here, finally we get over here, we'll say we're in Western West Virginia by the time we get here, not WW, WV, okay? And this is another 100 miles. And then when we get here, we're gonna want, not ammo, come on, words. Ammo, food, water, all the things, right? Here we want all the things because this is our ultimate goal, is to stay here at this farm in the middle of nowhere, okay? So this is waypoints. We're gonna go from waypoint Alpha to waypoint Bravo to Charlie to Delta to Echo. Use the phonetic alphabet, it makes you sound awesome. Right? Okay. So we're gonna get from here to here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? In series. So that's waypoints. Why would we want capabilities kits? Well, maybe I can't carry all the stuff. And also remember this. All systems degrade into a man-portable system. So just because your vehicle works right now, what happens when it breaks down? Well, isn't it nice to know that I'm only going to get 50 miles from here to here? We'll say that you can only walk 10 miles a day. That's 5 days. Well, if you got 10 or 5 days of food and water capability on your back and a good pair of boots, you can get from here to here. When you get here, you've got food. Yay. Awesome. And then you got another 75 miles, 7.5 days. Now, I know the average human being, can walk farther than 10 miles a day, but The average American is overweight and doesn't exercise, and the average bug out bag pushes 60 pounds at least. I've seen 97-pound inch bags, and most people have them and never do anything with them. I ruck with mine, so I know how far I can go, how quickly, but most people don't. So I would encourage you to A, get your weight down, and you do that by knowing what you need and what you don't need, and you know what you need and you don't need by using it. So go camp out of your bug out bag for a weekend, and B, exercise with it and time yourself. You need a metric so you know, hey, I can do 3 miles in an hour. Great. So if we had to walk for, say, 5 hours in a day, yeah, and you could walk longer, let's just 5 hours, that's 15 miles. Why does that matter? Because that means now if this is 15 miles, this is a 5-day journey. So if I'm here in New Jersey and I've got to go, this is 3 days and this is 5 days, that's 8 days. And then this over here is going to be 7 days and 7 days. So that's 22 days. So I can tell the people on this end, if you don't see me in between 22 and 25 days, something's wrong. Maybe we need to establish comma. Maybe you need to come look for me. Okay, see, this is why all this matters. And it all starts with you actually going and using your gear, which is why I said don't just write this stuff down, take it and do with it. Okay, all of this matters, because if they don't know to come looking for you after day 25, guess what? They ain't gonna come looking for you. And if they don't know where to come looking for you in what order, aha. So, and a lot of that can be handled with, hey, we're not coming to look for you. You get here, we're not coming to look for you, because can we actually spare the time, energy, resources to come get you? That's a big question, and the answer in a lot of cases is not no, but hell no. And I say that with all love. If I was the one making this trip, I would not want my friends, family, tribe coming to look for me. Y'all take care of you over here. This is the position of strength. I'm trying to get to you. You're not trying to get to me, okay? We're not, because think about to do that. I just did Urban Extraction Parts 1 and 2 on Patreon. The sheer manpower and mission planning required to get into an urban area, say New Jersey, and get back out again is insane. Insane. And it's a big roll of the dice, okay? So this is waypoints, right? And so you have resupply at each one of these places, so that, because you can't carry 22 days worth of food on your back. And I know, T, what about the rule of threes? You can go 3 weeks without food, bro. You can. When was the last time you missed 3 meals in a row? Be dead honest with yourself. I fast pretty dang regularly. I'm telling you what, from sundown Monday to sundown Tuesday, by the time it's sundown Tuesday, I'm ready for a meal. And so, yeah, you can go 3 weeks without dying, but can you function optimally after 3 weeks without food, carrying your rucksack for 225 miles? I'm sorry, 325 miles. No, you can't. So that's what PPCs are. This is the waypoint from one to the next, to the next, to the next. Let's do spider points, and then we'll put a bow on this thing. So, oh, I erased the top of our little gas station thing over here. Oh well. I'm not perfect. Bet you didn't know that. I'm not even close to it. In fact, I am just a busted up POS like everybody else, trying to do his best to make his creator smile. Let's talk about waypoints. Waypoints means that we start here, and then we have, I'm sorry, spider points. This is spider points. So let's say this is 50 miles, and this is 100 miles, and this is 75 miles, and this is 200 miles. And typically you're going to want your spider points to be in different directions of the compass, north, south, east, west, so you can bug out in the opposite direction of what it is that's coming at you, causing you to bug out in the first place. Okay, but the way spider points work is that it's the same concept, that we pre-position capabilities somewhere else so that we can leave and then make an informed decision because we've done our area study and we know how to navigate our environment. Hey, there's something bad happened from the south. Well, let's go north, hypothetically, 50 miles to where we have this old gas station that we're going to hunker in because we've already put supplies there. And then maybe from there we could move out to the barn. Or we're going to go south to the barn. Or let's go west to our grove of trees. I know we can do that because we emplaced a wall tent and a whole bunch of capabilities there, so forth and so on. Or let's go east to our buddy out in the country. We know we can stay there. We've got stuff there. And now, lastly, I would encourage you that the number one thing, if you haven't caught on about it already, that you should have in these places is food and water. Food and water. It's entirely likely, and I pray to God that it's true, that you never pull a trigger in anger. You're going to have to eat. And if you're coming to my place, I would much prefer it if you already put food at my place. Okay? You're going to have to eat. So this is spider points versus waypoints. Waypoints are linear. A to B to C to D to E. Spider points are A to D, A to B, A to C, or A to E, whatever. Okay? These are options. It's not linear. You don't go one to the next. You go 1 to 4 or 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 or whatever. Okay? And by and large, they can function both ways. If you have enough stuff in place in enough areas, now you really have options. You can bounce around the country or the region if you need to. So that's spider points versus waypoints. And I believe it was our sister Haunted who asked if we could do this video on PPCs and capability kits and what particularly I meant by that. And this is what I mean by that. It all comes back to this. What is the mission? For most of the people here, it's going to be bugging out, 5 C's of survival, cordage, cutting tool, combustion, container, and cover. Having redundancy on that. And then food and water, which I like to call calories. Somewhere in these other areas so that you can leave as you're bugging out, you can resupply and you have redundancy. If you're getting into an offensive/defensive position, which is where, frankly, a lot of capabilities kits are employed by people that don't exist in places that aren't on maps doing things that never happened. It's the same concept, but what is in those kits looks a little bit different. And so you can take that thread and tug it all you want. But I think it's in everybody's best interest who believes and thinks and is convicted the way that we are to have something to this effect put back. I hope this helped. I would encourage you, as always with all these, to share them. They're designed to be shared as an entree into preparedness for people that wouldn't otherwise get it. And why is it important? What are we doing? Prepping is not all zombie apocalypse and Panamanian paratroopers and oh my gosh, did you see that China might nuke somebody? It can come down to some very basic but very important things. As simply as, don't tread on me, bro. If you want to be here, please subscribe. YouTube unsubscribes people from us all the time. We just got more notifications that unproductive subs will be unsubscribed from our channel. I don't know what makes you productive, but when you unsubscribe my moderators, I tend to think that you're just a bunch of communist scumbags and don't like the fact that we talk about things like this. So please subscribe. If you've been unsubscribed, it wasn't me, bro. It's YouTube. If you would like, you can click that little bell. Feel free to come see us on Patreon. You can support us there. There are 24 exclusive pieces of content per month on Patreon. And we would not be here on YouTube doing what we do here without the patrons. So thank you guys very much. I hope that this series has blessed you. And I would love it if you would tell me down in the comments what else you would like to talk about. Shalom, y'all.
1 second while I finish my message. Sorry, I'm typing my fingers off there as quickly as I can. You know I can't type and talk. Just not going to happen. Even if I attempted to type and talk at the same time, the results, I wouldn't even want to imagine. All right. It's actually kind of funny because what I'm doing is I posted a link at that particular time, or close to that time, a little ahead of it, that he brought up the Locker 9 book and Angry American, and I posted it over in Angry American Asylum. So while the video's been playing, I've been kind of chatting back and forth with Franklin Horton, which is the actual author of Locker 9. So anyway, it's kind of humorous. So that's what I was doing. I was leaving a message for Bear because Franklin said he sent Bear a message, to tell him that if he wants a copy of the book, he'll send him a copy of the book. So they're all outstanding people, every last one of them. Chris Weatherman, a.k.a. Angry American, Franklin Horton, Bear Independent, all just remarkable people, beyond words, all of them. So I'm honored and privileged to know them. I don't know Bear. I've talked to Angry American because do decals for him. As far as Franklin, I've spoke with him online. He sent me an autographed copy of Locker 9. And it's, like I say, it's an honor to know those guys. Incredible people. Incredible people. Haven't talked on a personal level with Bear, however. Let me grab you guys a video real quick here. Let's see. Got to scroll back down because I refreshed. How dare I? Where did it go? Somewhere. Okay, here we go. Got one from Ron Paul Liberty Report here titled Impeach Them All. F-35 bipartisan boondoggle is the real crime.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. With me today is Mr. McAdams.
Mr. Paul, how are you, Dr. Paul?
Okay, very good. And I'm going to do this a little bit different today. I want to mention a couple things, but I want to talk about this contract with the F-35.
Yeah, just
and
new stuff.
The boondoggle, and a lot of money involved, and there's a lot of concentration on impeachment. And sometimes these guys needed impeaching, but they dwell on other things. And but before I do that, yesterday I mentioned it, but I want to recognize once again that the significance of today, Halloween, and there's so much that Washington invites on Halloween. You'd think they're all wearing costumes, at least their actions are like Halloween. And
no
people
kidding.
should be frightened, but they're for real.
Yeah, for real.
That's the whole thing. But this is back again to the college campuses, the cultural Marxists, and nobody can be offended. And, I sort of personally like to practice not offending people. I'm not so sure every politician in Washington accepted that. But I never got any fun out of it, and I didn't think I gained by it, and I didn't think it was wise to do. But so I don't like to be offended, and some other people don't like to be offended. But somebody complaining right now about being offended, I think it's over the top. I think that they offend me, and that's the point I want to make. But it says the majority of American students now want wearing offensive Halloween costumes to be punished. Well, what is offensive and who should be doing this and who's going to do the punishment, who's going to make the decision. But over half of the students agree with this nonsense. And I keep thinking, well, okay, if you applied the rules to those who are offending us, what they would do to me is they offend me when they do some of these things in proposing that they know what is right and wrong. So someday, if this persists, it'll be turned back on them, and they will be the ones that will be on the receiving end. And that's generally what happens. Everybody is including, and they get the medicine they deserve. But I think we should just get out of this business. But this whole thing is very offensive. But generally they don't look at it. They decide they're the kingmakers, and they set the moral standards, and they're going to invoke the punishments. It's a system that has deteriorated, and I guess it's appropriate for Halloween to talk about that for a minute. But I don't know. If we will ever cancel our offensiveness. I don't like to be offended. I don't think we should offend people, but that happens to reflect a person's character and morality. It has nothing to do with rules and regulations and people who run colleges that don't care, about what happens. There's no management. I mean, why are these kids coming and they probably don't even pay for their education. They probably borrowed all the money, and they're going to set up the rules, and they don't want anybody possibly offended because we want a perfect world.
And how do you know what's offensive if you cross over the line, if you do something you could? It really, at the risk of sounding like an old folk, think about the college campuses in the day. Think about the 60s. My old college, UC Berkeley, they were protesting for free speech. They were protesting across the country to end the war in Vietnam. And now they're protesting to keep someone from wearing an Indian headdress or whatever is offensive these days, maybe a sombrero or something. So look at how far we've fallen into this self-obsession, instead of stopping an immoral war, instead of stopping the surveillance that we talk about all the time. No, I don't want to be personally offended by your costume. It really is sick.
Well, just a few minutes ago, they had the vote on the rule on bringing about the process of investigating the impeachment. The rule was significant. It's the kind of thing that's usually partisan, and I would generally vote for rules unless it's an extreme thing like bringing up a bill to go to war or something. Yeah. But basically, I would vote for a rule saying that the party in charge has to bring this stuff to the floor and is up for debate. So this was just on the rule, but it's after all that mischief going on, of secret hearings going on. So I think this, in a way, is maybe all the damage is done, but in a way the Republicans win. That from now on, I think they might get a little bit more coverage, but already the Republicans said the way the rule's written, they're not going to have a lot more advantage. But it's something that's going to be ongoing, and we'll probably talk about it later on. But I think the impeachment process is a pure distraction, and I wanted to work that into the subject we're going to talk about today, and that is the amount of money that we, the government, the people, are going to spend to buy 478 more F-35.
Yeah.
$34 billion. Army, Air Force, and Navy all want these things. And the plane doesn't have a very good record. But not only do we buy them for our own military, we're in the business of buying and selling. So it's a big business, and it's Lockheed Martin that got the contract. And this is once again the corporate welfare. And if we wanted to think about impeachment, some of this stuff is I guess philosophically is impeachable because it's so horrible. But our whole foreign policy, I remember when I had to vote on Clinton's impeachment, I sort of cheated because in my mind, I was voting because of all the immoral things he was doing in foreign policy and bombing people for reasons. So I thought he deserved that. But here, this thing is going on, but it's bipartisan. Republican, Democrat. I bet there's no speeches on the House floor today about the ridiculousness of all this money being spent when we have no money, and it's not going to have help our defense. I don't believe it for a minute. Matter of fact, I think it endangers us. I think people are going to retaliate to us, because we're over there bombing them, and there'll be blowback from all this activity, and there's always been that way.
Yeah, and this obsession, whether you're on Team R or Team D on the impeachment process, and he said, he heard something, he saw something, that's obsessed. Everyone is obsessed with this. But here's a big yawn when the Pentagon decides, as you say, $34 billion to purchase 478 F-35s. But, that's only the tip of the iceberg, because to get to where we're actually spending this much money on the plane, they spent about $500 billion, $406.5 billion, getting us to this point. Now we get to buy the stuff. But Dr. Paul, I think you're being a little bit too harsh about this, because we were told in the media that this is a 12.7% discount from what they said. Oh. So we're getting a bargain, 12% off of the price, only $80 million per plane. So, take it easy.
Let me ask you, could that be somewhat similar to how the stores do it? They always have a sale. And, it's the beginning. They just have a brand new product, and the Christmas season is just starting, and you'll get a notice. 35% off if you get here within a week. So, from when?
Yeah.
So I guess that's the kind of discount. No, the damage has already been done, but it's continued, because not only do they buy these planes for our military to use, but they're involved in the selling. It isn't like the private industry sells these to another country and they take all the risk. I've always said they shouldn't even have the right to do it. All the special aspects of these planes and weapons that we have should be, the taxpayers should own that, and we shouldn't be selling it to anybody. If you're non-intervention, have it there in case we need to defend it. But no, this is big business, and part of what's going on now is where we're selling these things. And I'm sure you saw that article about Poland.
Yeah,
it's going to get some F-35s, and that's going to be the 13th country. I bet you there's going to be some clapping on that, another sale, but you say, well, that's should be just the company sell it, shouldn't have anything to do with the government. But no, the government built it, and then when they sell the plane, the countries don't have money. They don't have billions of dollars to give us, and the money goes from the Export-Import Bank. They borrow it. That goes, directly back. It stays in this country and goes to Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
And when they make these loans, the loans are guaranteed. So if Poland is not absolutely solvent and good, agents, and they are determined to pay, it'd be okay. But most of these countries are not going to pay the bills, and but the banks and the government will guarantee it. So it is a big mess. And it's a big contribution to the obligations in the future, as well as the many billions, now trillions of dollars we spend on these weapons that has nothing to do, with national defense.
And the Poland example is perfect, because it just shows what a ripoff the whole thing is. The people of Poland should be furious with their government. But this is how it works, Dr. Paul. You think about the propaganda cycle. Okay, you've got Lockheed Martin spending all this money to make this plane. They're going to make a lot of money off of it. What do? They give a few millions to the Atlantic Council, the German Marshall Fund, all of these think tanks. These think tanks put out paper after paper about the Russia threat. Russia's a threat. You got to get this. Poland is already, obsessed with Russia. So this propaganda feeds the popular view of Poland. The people are clamoring. We got this Russia threat. We got to do something about it. And Poland goes ahead and buys Lockheed Martin's planes. So Lockheed Martin spends a few million on the think tanks, and they get a few billion on the return on the investment.
Well, the other thing that they do, because there's no resistance in the Congress, it's because philosophically they support all this and this warmongering and the military-industrial complex. But essentially, the plane is built not in one state. It's not all built in California. Every state gets a contract. So even a state like Vermont can get their congressmen, to vote for it, and even defy Sanders' own image by supporting weaponry that's built in Vermont. So that's the part that's despicable, but they say, well, what we have to do is we have to impeach the president for all this picayune stuff. And there was a Democratic congressman spouting off this morning. And he said, we have to do this. It's necessary. It's our responsibility. And his explanation was the president may have disobeyed and violated the Constitution. He didn't say he did anything, but he might have violated the Constitution. Then when you think of all this kind of stuff and all the things that they do as in a bipartisan manner, and now they're going to go through this impeachment just because they hate somebody, and somebody lost an election. So they're not very good losers. I think that's part of the problem, but just goes on and on. But the bipartisan stuff is probably the most impeachable stuff. I mean, the Federal Reserve is supported bipartisan because everybody wants deficits. Everybody likes welfare. And, it just goes on. And now, just think of what's going on in the last 2 or 3 years. Everything in the news is, even before Trump was sworn in, the hatred had always built. He provokes people. Yeah. But that's his style. So they've been doing that, and they're going to continue to do that. And I wish they'd pay more attention to what they claim. We're doing this, and we're overseas. We're going to protect your liberties, and we're going to protect our Constitution. So we need more of this kind of spending. And if you don't support Lockheed Martin, that means you're un-American.
So, you hate freedom.
What a mess.
But it's not only built in every state, it's built in a bunch of foreign countries too. So that's how you create your customer base. Let's remember one thing about the cost. Everyone is jumping up and down in Washington. This is the greatest news. We got a discount. We put in our coupon, only $80 million per plane. But back in 2001, when they sold this program, they said, it'll only be $38 million a plane. And now we're thrilled that the price has more than doubled. That says a lot about it. But let's just review quickly the problems with the plane, because we talked about it before. We can't forget the fact that this is a deeply troubled airplane. They wanted to put everything in it to satisfy every branch of the military. I think it probably even has a couple of toasters and a microwave and maybe a K-cup brewer in there. Everything in there. But here's a piece from the National Interest in March, citing information received by the Center for Defense Information from the Pentagon itself. The article, Why the F-35 is Not Ready for a War. Just a couple of things, and there's a lot more. Anyone can dig into it and find more. Little or no improvement in key availability, reliability, and flying hour metrics. Few of these planes will be ready for combat when they're needed. During the Marine and Navy testing, the planes suffered so many cracks and needed so many repairs and modifications that they couldn't even complete their 8,000-hour projected life expectancy. So they're going to be going to the boneyard a lot earlier than they planned. Despite years of patches and upgrades, the critical computer systems continue to malfunction. Still vulnerable to hacking. The tests have to be dumbed down so that the F-35 can pass the test. It's like our educational system, but this is serious business. It's supposed to be a life and death. So this is a deeply troubled system, but politically very popular because it gives the goodies to everyone.
Yeah, the only time they run into a little bit of problem politically is when they have to deal with a country like Turkey. All of a sudden that gets a little confusing because Turkey has been an ally, but they don't agree with what they should do and what we should do about Syria. And so Turkey's right in the middle, and they're close to Russia, and they started to buy missiles from Russia. Well, that annoys us, and they used to help us build the F-35, so they can't do that anymore. But in the meantime, they'll fulfill their contract and keep sending our parts. And, it goes on. But that is about one of the most unusual relationships of, but, the good part about what's coming out of that is a pretty good demonstration on why NATO needs to go, because it doesn't make any sense them being in NATO and yet there's all these conflicts, and they're closer to a Russian ally than in NATO, but time will tell.
Well, you know, the Turkey thing is fascinating because they were being pushed to buy the Patriot from Raytheon. You got to buy this, you got to buy this. They said, no, we don't want it. We want the S-400 from Russia. And so everyone flipped out. They said, you can't have the missile that shoots down the F-35 and the F-35. It doesn't work that way. So it's so much pressure. They said, we're not going to budge. We want the S-400. And so the U.S. said, well, you can't have any F-35s. And they said, okay. You know, so now they're actually, there's a new article. They're made a lot of progress in discussions with the Russians to buy the Sukhoi 35s, you know. And so they said, okay, we'll buy the Sukhois. You know, it probably has less problems. So that really says it in a nutshell. But I'm going to close, I think, if we're ready. And I'm going to do something pretty unkind. I'm going to steal something you said from my closing because it was such a great point. And I was going to wait and see if you made it, and you didn't make it yet. So we talked about impeachment. And if I'm stealing it back from you and you're going to say it, please stop me. But you mentioned the real quid pro quo. And this is what it's all about. The real quid pro quo is not Trump saying, hey, we're going to hold back your aid, Ukraine, unless you take care of Biden. The real quid pro quo is Washington telling Poland and Turkey and all these other countries, hey, or Saudi Arabia, hey, if you buy our F-35s, if you buy our missiles, if you spend a few billions, we'll turn the other way when you cut off the heads of journalists. We'll turn the other way when you do other bad things. If you do this, if you keep the machine running, keep the military-industrial complex well-oiled, we're going to turn the other way and you'll be our friend no matter what you do. That's the quid pro quo, but as you would say, it's never going to be punished because they're all in on the scam.
That was a good point.
Yeah, I stole it from you.
But you
Sorry.
said it so much better. But you know, the weapons is quid pro quo. They get the weapons and they're supposed to do what we tell them, and they become part of the empire. You know, that's where the real quid pro quo is. But the empire is not as solid as it used to be. It's becoming much weaker. But all foreign aid is quid pro quo. This whole thing that he hinted to it, that is so out of proportion to what it is, because I do believe that everything is given. In a way, you have to say, well, if you're going to give it away, they realize it's not going to help the people that we say we're giving it to help the poor people and help the country get back on their feet again. It's always going to governments, and we even give money out, and we believe we're giving the quid pro quo. But we can't even figure out, remember John McCain got mixed up on the terrorist group, which one to support? They just do it. So no, this whole idea, there's not a difficult job in sorting this all out. It's very complex, but just don't deal with those programs. We don't have the authority. We don't have the permission of the people. We don't have the authority under the Constitution to be giving away the people's tax money. And then we wouldn't even have this deal, because now, if they're serious, they could argue for a long time about what quid pro quo means. But it looks like Trump has overextended his use of quid pro quo. Even if he did, we don't even know. But eventually, maybe they'll wake up. But maybe the voters next year will try to sort it out. But it is the best now. But I claim that the mess comes from the fact that things don't work well with the country, with the foreign policy, with the domestic policy, because I believe our country is bankrupt. We spend more money than we take in, more money than we earn, and we have not only a financial bankruptcy, which engulfs this country, engulfs the world, but also there's a moral bankruptcy, and we sort of alluded to the silliness of what's going on our campuses, and there is a moral bankruptcy. And if you think about some of the clowns that are in Congress right now, you could identify some moral bankruptcy there. So it's a combination. So it's not going to go away. So there will have to be some type of a revolutionary movement in the direction of deciding what we believe in and what our culture should be all about. But I just don't think it's complex. It's just a matter of believing in liberty and promoting freedom and personal responsibility. And it's this dependency, the entitlement system. Yeah, poor people get entitled. Everything will take care of. You owe it to me. But Lockheed Martin think they're entitled too, and that's where the big bucks go, and that's where the big welfare is. But it's going bankrupt, so if enough Americans care about it, there will have to be a rebuilding or a reassessment of what our responsibilities are and reassessment of what the role of government ought to be. And if anybody's really confused about it, we might even consider, rereading the Constitution. Say maybe that's a pretty good guide, and not assume that we assume that maybe somebody violated the Constitution. At the same time, about 90% of every vote they take into Congress doesn't fit into the definition of gaining authority from the Constitution. So I see big problems. I don't think they're that difficult to deal with, and I think we just need a lot more people with enthusiasm to defend the principles of liberty if they have an interest in peace and prosperity. Thank you for tuning in today, and please come back soon.
Alrighty, let's see. Got one here from We Are Changed that I'm going to play. It's titled, "This is the Raw Truth from the Streets of New York City, Halloween Walk and Talk."
Hey guys, this is Luke Radowski of WeAreChanged.org here in Brooklyn, New York, at an intersection where the lights have stopped working. And guess what? There's no chaos. People are moving along their way naturally without an authority telling them what to do. Gee whiz, who would have thought that was possible? Now, this is probably completely different scenery than you're used to when I'm doing these walk and talks. The last I was doing these kind of videos, it was in the Caribbean. I'm in New York City now. Today is Halloween, and in this video I really want to talk about my own personal experiences here as a child growing up in New York City, with the bigger kind of nuance point, a bigger uncomfortable truth that's not really discussed in mainstream media, and that essentially is that you're on your own. A big uncomfortable truth, and you're probably asking yourself, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm going to explain that in just a little bit, but what really made me think about my childhood growing up here in Brooklyn, New York, was an article that I just kind of tweeted out, and it says that a judge recently ruled that the police owe nothing to a man whose house they blew up. A very interesting case that happened in Colorado. You could check out my Twitter or Facebook to see the article for yourself, but this automatically made me think of my childhood, because as an immigrant, I moved to a community here in Brooklyn called Borough Park. It was predominantly a Hasidic Jewish, Hispanic, and African American community, and our Halloween was a lot different than probably yours and probably a lot of the people who are in Brooklyn now, because in New York City on Halloween, it was known as kind of the gang initiation day, where rival gang members would fight each other or random people would get hurt. A common term was buck-50'd, meaning gang member took a box cutter and slashed your face open. This happened a lot during Halloween because this was the kind of day that a lot of gang initiations happened, and a lot of people were caught up in the fray, and a lot of innocent people were hurt. I remember particularly being told, not only by the local law enforcement, but the school authorities, but my parents, whatever you do, don't wear red, don't wear blue, you're gonna make yourself a target. And I remember spending Halloween having this construct, like, yeah, you just walk around and people give you candy, but doing it from my house, not being able to go outside because people in my neighborhood didn't go outside because it was a lot of gang activity that was happening, where I would see even neighbors of mine the next morning after Halloween come back from the hospital with bandages that were bloodied on their face. You would walk around the neighborhood and you would see a lot of people with scars on their face, because this is what a lot of the younger members had to do to random people to be a part of a gang back then. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Now, New York City is totally different now than it was before, but the gangsters and the kind of more dangerous elements of this city have been replaced by a new menace. That new menace is hipsters, transplants, and yuppies. Okay, I'm being facetious here, but they're not that bad. They're bad, but they're not that bad. But they're predominantly individuals who are more kind of left-leaning, who do want more government, who want to give up their power so someone else has authority over them. And when that happens, you need to enforce that power and authority over everyone else. And this is what I kind of wanted to point in the background of everything, since I still remember my first interaction with the NYPD here in New York City as a child to be extremely perplexing. The NYPD had a sort of scared straight system where they would bring police officers into public schools, and as a kind of not really understanding immigrant child, I remember these police officers storming in to the classroom, just screaming and yelling at everyone and talking about how big, bad, and tough they are, and how they could take down any gangster that there is in the neighborhood because they're the biggest gangsters. I remember the one particular line being told to me is, "I'll give you all the quarters in the world so you can call up all your friends. It doesn't matter. I'll just make one call on my radio and I will finish all of your friends and all of you." I remember like, what? I'm not even doing anything. I'm a little child. The second interaction I had with police officers was when I was arrested as also a very young teenager. I remember hanging out with an older kid. There was wet cement in the public street. He wrote his gang tag in the cement, and he walked off. I was walking with him, and then the police officers pull up behind me, and when the police officers pull up behind me, automatically handcuff me, arrest me, and my friend. I'm like, what's going on here? They took me to my house, and they said, your son was graffitiing the sidewalk. I'm like, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do it. It didn't matter. Cops, detectives, literally, and I'm still a teenager. Cops literally came to my house on Thanksgiving morning to book me into the precinct. Took me to the precinct out of my home right before Thanksgiving dinner, took off my shoelaces, took off my belt, put me in a cell to process me. They took photos of the sidewalk, which people all day were writing their name in, and said, your son, along with his co-conspirator, are responsible for all of this property destruction. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. The officer never saw me do anything. Officers are like, yep, I saw you. It doesn't matter. And they set a court date that was set for New Year's Day. I remember having to get a lawyer, spending a ridiculous amount of money, my family being disappointed in me, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. Meanwhile, the real kind of gangsters, the real kind of criminal elements were just allowed to let go and let loose. They were able to do whatever they wanted, and still there's even particular instances that I look around and I'm like, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's happening here. But a lot of the bigger criminal elements were kind of pushed away from New York City because of gentrification and because of other social kind of economic issues as well. But I remember having that first interaction with police officers and then kind of questioning, this really all doesn't really make sense. I had another incident in high school where I was beat up by police officers for hanging out with the wrong group in the wrong neighborhood. I remember even just a few years ago, a car came and hit my car. I remember pulling up, going after that car, stopping them in the middle of the roadway, finally, after crossing so many red lights, after crossing so many stop signs, and the drivers were drunk. The police were called. Took them 2 hours to get there. 2 hours. I told the drunk drivers, I was like, hey, park your car here, give me your information. Cop showed up, they're like, what'd you do? You pulled out, it was probably your fault, wasn't it? I'm like, what? I called you guys. Hey, it's taken you guys 2 hours to respond to one simple phone call. And these are all incidences that I personally experienced that are absolutely nothing compared to other incidences that other people had to go through. Look at these weirdos. These are incidences that are absolutely nothing compared to what other people have to go through. Not only like this man who got his house blown up, but specifically other individuals that I personally know, like Joe Lozito. Joe Lozito, a person who stopped a mass killer in New York City in a fight that almost cost him his life, as the NYPD were watching behind a closed door with guns, with their weapons, with two uniformed officers that stood back. Joe Lozito fought this madman with a butcher knife, almost lost his life. Doing so, the police officers almost made him lose his life because of the protocols and procedures, and waited about 45 minutes as he bled out in the subway before acting as Joe Lozito took down a murderer in New York City. Then the NYPD said that they acted bravely. They said that Joe Lozito was the victim, and Joe Lozito sued them because he knew the officers were just standing by and watching as he took down this murderer that was stabbing him. And the New York City Police Department ruled that the NYPD has no legal duty to protect you. And then you look at other big events like mass shootings and how police officers are told to stand back. You look at the Epstein story, where police officers, authority figures are just being paid off and bought. This brings me to the harsh reality that a lot of people need to understand, is that you can't really trust a stranger, especially if the stranger has a uniform, because all of that kind of big social construct is based on an absolute lie. And that's one reason out of hundreds of reasons why I do what I do, why I am so passionate about injustice, and why I don't believe in authority, why I believe in myself, especially in the right to self-defense, which every individual should have and should be equipped with in one way or another. Also, very interestingly, whenever I set my path on trying to expose these larger kind of injustices, expose the larger kind of craziness that's happening in our society, I actually ended up getting beat up and assaulted and falsely arrested even more by police officers. Now, there are some police officers, rare cases, rare instances that really do go out of their way to help the fellow man and their fellow woman. There are some police officers that are absolutely heroes and do need to be praised and respected for their sacrifice, but that's rare. And the more trust and faith we put in authority that is not within us, the more room we have for pain, suffering, and people getting hurt. It's like this historically, it's like this with any big organization, with any big group that gets too powerful. So never give up your power and authority. Also, plus, a lot of these gangsters wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the prohibition of things that people personally want to put in their bodies. Just like the mafia was created with alcohol, we're having gangs created with this stupid prohibition laws in this country that are only fueling the criminal enterprises. And one of the biggest criminal enterprises is believing that someone has your best interest at heart. That's my particular take on this issue. What do you think? Don't be a chicken. Believe in self-defense. Happy Halloween, beautiful and amazing folks. Have a great, amazing time with your family and friends and community. And thank you so much for watching Independent Media. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.
Alrighty. Fun. Got one here, another one from the Prepared Mind titled Concerned You Should Be.
Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Man, have I got some shit it's the fan concepts for you to consider. Before I get started, though, I want to welcome everyone back. I want to thank you for sponsoring us, supporting us, clicking on us, sending links to friends, people who have sent PayPal donations. Thank you again. Everything you do, whether it's watching videos, binge watching, making recommendations, or or going to Patreon, and plunking down $2 for 30 days, at a time to support us, it all adds up. Now, what is it, that's going on? Can you see that window? That's not steam on it. It's frozen over. What a difference a day makes. And it's not, right, that the condensation hasn't frozen on my windows in the past. It's just, it's never happened in October, right? Additionally, it is biting cold here, biting cold. But that's definitely a signal that, the seasons have changed. Anyways, let's do this, shall we? I've got a number of things to bring up. There's so many things I cannot put the links into YouTube. But I'm just going to go through them all. And then at the end, I'm going to ask a couple of questions of you. And you get to probably ask questions of yourself as we go. What do you think? Because what you think is most important. It's not what I think. It's not what the president thinks or Nancy Pants Pelosi. It's none of that. It only matters what you think, because your decisions are based on your conclusions. That's what being a prepper is. It's being self-reliant. Right? Yeah, we can get information from others and we can consider other people's opinions and see if they jive with our own. Right? We want to do that. We want to hear other people's perspectives, whether they're kind of like us or whether they're way off, right? So like up Chuck Schumer, right? We want to hear all of it so we can assess the information. That's why I cover a lot of news and a lot of opinion pieces, because we need to gauge what's going on so that we can continually adjust, make little adjustments to our prepping plans and our concepts of what's going on. So I want to start with computer algorithms on Wall Street freak out as Chile cancels APEC summit. The APEC summit, right down there. So the computers freaked out. Well, why? Well, what was going on was Trump was going to meet with Xi there and supposedly going to sign some stuff. Now the meeting's been canceled. Well, number one, why should the computers freak out over a little bit of bad news? Well, that's what they're now set to do, to go up or down at any one point based on news. So the news can be fake, it can be real, it can be someone's opinion, but the computers are going to read things. It's a scary situation when computers can freak out. Anyways, why doesn't the computer remember that for the past, I don't know, at least 12 months, but closer to 18, we've been being told we're going to have a trade deal with China. Don't worry, it's almost here. Don't worry, it's coming. All right, let's move on. White House Ukraine expert says he tried to correct voice recognition transcript of the Trump-Ukraine phone call. Now, this Ukraine expert was born in Ukraine. He's a lieutenant colonel, but he appears to me and sounds to me to be partisan. But he's saying he tried to fix it, and that meaning what they put out was wrong. Okay, what they put out was wrong, and therefore it's a lie. And this guy is another whistleblower of sorts, or he was the whistleblower, or one of the several whistleblowers. It's very interesting, though, that the Democrats are having to roll out more of their case to make the American people understand, right, that it's really necessary to go through with this impeachment. In fact, right, Nancy Pants and the gang are going to have an actual impeachment vote in order to move forward, because the people are going, we're not buying it. And this is interesting because you and I, as preppers, as patriots, as news hounds, we're watching this stuff very, very closely, right? We're highly suspicious of everything, and we should be. And I don't buy their shit. Yeah, I don't think you do. What's interesting is the Democrats are having to do this because The American people, who are normally asleep, have paid enough attention to realize that what the Democrats are doing, holding secret closed-door meetings, keeping Republicans out while they figure out what route they need to take, right, to impeach the president. You know, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're not pulling a Clinton and having focus groups meet on how to sell the American people on impeachment. Now, they're not going to invite Republicans into this. No, they're only going to invite hardcore partisan Democrats. So these hardcore Democrat people in these polling groups, right? They're being sworn to secrecy. Don't tell anyone, right? We need to figure this out. And I'm assuming this is what's going on. Even they are telling the Democrat leadership or the pollsters, look, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. This isn't believable. And so if they can't convince their own people that they are doing internal polling on, you know, floating trial balloons of ideas at them, they're going, nope, 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 not buying it. They've got to go back to the drawing board. That's why they're coming all the way out and saying we're going to hold an impeachment hearing. And that's why this I want to be nice, Ukraine expert. Well, why is he a Ukraine expert instead of a military person, right? Why not say, a veteran officer, lieutenant colonel, yada, 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 says, right? Their choice of words and all of this minutia of crap is coming down to very specific words and concepts and ideas because they're always pushing a psychological angle. And I'm going to tell you, I do too. I try and be very precise in what I talk about because I want people to understand the seriousness of what's going on and that they need to be prepared. That's right, I'm pushing being prepared. Surprised? No, you're not. Right? I tell you right off the bat, time to get ready for shit to hit the fan. And I even drink coffee out of my coffee cup. Are you ready for shit to hit the fan? Right? So that's my agenda. Get ready. I want people ready. I want to help people realize they need to get ready. That's my program. Anyways, let's move along here. Oh, it came out. Jeffrey Epstein was strangled. That's a quote from a famous forensic expert. It was on Fox News. I read the article. I watched the Fox News. I am really busy, guys. You see me for, anywhere from, 45 minutes to over an hour a day doing videos. But I spend hours and hours and hours and hours digging and sifting and then corresponding with others to figure stuff out, to run theories by each other. Not conspiracy theories, mind you, but rather serious research into what is going on. So, Jeffrey Epstein was strangled. Okay. We heard about the hyoid bone weeks and weeks and weeks ago. All right, hyoid bone is what we use. It helps us speak. Without it, we could not speak. And so we learned from this forensics guy. He was hired by the Epstein family. To witness the autopsy. So he had a bunch of claims. The hyoid bone was smashed. The government hasn't released DNA evidence from fingernails. If he was fighting back, if he was being murdered, and if he was, they found the sheet. Just call it a sheet, right? That he strangled himself with. There should be DNA other than Jeffrey's on there. Why haven't they released it? Whether it's up or down. But what they're doing is they're selling the idea that Epstein is dead. Right? They want us to know that it was a conspiracy and that he was murdered. I'm still questioning whether it was even Epstein or not. Right? There was a lot of information showing that it looked like Epstein left the building. Oh, John, people saw the body, right? Well, if you are aware of all the research that's been done into the President John F. Kennedy assassination,
John F. Kennedy's wife, right? His wife. Did everyone remember who she was, right? She was the one sitting next to him when his head was blown to pieces. She said, old Jackie, that when she viewed Kennedy's body, it didn't look like Kennedy. It looked like a Madame Tussauds Wax Museum copy of him. Right? That's a fact. She said those things. It is not beyond the government's capacity or capability to make fake bodies. This doctor may have witnessed a body that looked similar to Jeffrey's that was manipulated. May have witnessed it, but that doesn't mean it was Jeffrey Epstein. Just a thought. Just a thought. Remember, at the end of this, I'm going to get into what all of these news stories are about. Deutsche Bank tumbles after a bad bank, and they post negative review. Worst profits, right? 73% plunge in profits, not in valuation, but in profits. But don't worry, everything's fine. Greatest economy ever. No reason to panic. Dow at all-time highs. Don't worry. Keep relaxing. The computers are doing the trading. You're going to be rich when you retire. Just chill. Right. And speaking of that, leaving Illinois, there was a great story. And the quote was, from the headline was, does anybody care about people like us? It was about a retiring couple that was from Illinois that left, went to Florida, and then came back to retire to be around family. And they can't live in the state of Illinois on a retirement. They just can't. They're finding it difficult. And a lot of families are finding it impossible. And they went to some sort of town hall meetings or government meetings and listened to all of the taxes being proposed. New taxes and tax increases in the state of Illinois. You know, that's the solution they're looking at. That's the same solution that I am listening to here in California is when the government wants more money, they don't try and increase the ability of people to earn more money. What they do is they look for a way to tax people in new and exciting ways. 26 million Californians are under red flag warning as remarkable and dangerous Santa Ana. That's down in Southern California. Santa Ana winds are the ones that whip up at the end of the year, and if you get fires over there, it fucking fries and roasts the hillsides. That's been going on since I was a kid. But the story is, right, a remarkable and dangerous Santa Ana approaches. Well, wait a moment. I think any fire is remarkable and dangerous once it happens. And there's something I want to bring up about winds and fire. And it's really interesting, the phenomena. If you've ever been around a roaring fire, and I'm not a fire expert, I'm not a fire bug, I'm not a fireman, but I've been pretty frickin' close to forest fires and even structure fires. They create their own wind. And I know a lot of people are going to say, but John, they're recording winds 50 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour. There really aren't those kind of winds in Northern California. So if it's truly wind, then it could be one of those weather warfare things. But fires create their own wind. The heat from a fire, a large forest fire, structure fire, it sends that heat straight up and it pulls air in. So whatever wind is available is exacerbated. Additionally, I mean, they're saying, well, we measured the wind. I know that psychologically, fire has a huge effect on people. When you see a conflagration, it triggers fear in us because we know how dangerous fire is. But there's a psychological triggering effect of seeing massive amounts of flames. It's hellish. It scares people. And so it does create even more wind, and it does scare people. You can show someone a picture of a fire, and it's one thing, but if you show a moving picture where these huge amounts of flames coming off of burning trees and houses, it just whips around and it looks extra scary. It looks out of control. But in truth, there really isn't any way to control a fire. You can either put it out or it burns. There's no controlling it. You can call it a controlled burn. Well, you're containing it. You're trying to contain it, right? But fire is fire. It's crazy. It does have massive psychological effects. For example, the Nazis realized this. Joseph Goebbels, minister of propaganda for the Nazi Party, understood this, and he would hold rallies at night because psychologically people are more receptive to ideas and concepts when presented with them at night because they're closed in, they're isolated, it's dark. There's more fear, and they look to whatever message they're getting as being accurate. And this is human psychology that goes back hundreds of years. No electricity at night. Who do you listen to? Well, at night, the patriarch or the elders would tell stories. They would pass on history and knowledge and wisdom at night. Remember, people couldn't read. People didn't have books, right? The best you had was fire and someone telling you a story. So the Nazis understood this psychologically. And they would have book burnings at night to use the psychology of the fire and the darkness, and the speaker being the wise source, to brainwash people. That's one of the major tools they use to do it. Fire is very scary. 26 million Californians are under red flag warning. What does that mean? Power could go out for 26 million people. Right? Because there's not 26 million people surrounding Santa Ana. Right? You got to understand, they're now telling us that power can be turned out in Southern California. And I lost my power, right? We had some power problems here. I make sure I got the generators all hooked up and set up so that I can just cruise through it as best as I can. But we're set to get nasty out here. Right? But wait a minute. I thought the world was a technological marvel and everything was great. Bank of Japan to start lending ETF shares to prevent market freeze. Okay, this idea that modern monetary theory allows a bank to just print all the money at once and there's no consequence. They can buy stocks, they can buy bonds, they can fund the government, it's just debt. Well, the Bank of Japan has been screwed up far longer than the US has, and they've been playing the game that a lot of people prescribe or are saying they should do here in California. Very fascinating stuff. But the Bank of Japan is learning that markets are freezing. In other words, it doesn't matter how much they print, it's starting to have an effect on the rest of the country. If people can't afford ETFs or stocks or bonds, right? And the government just buys up, or the bank buys up the excess, eventually, if those people have come to a point where they can't buy them, they're going to continue to lose money. The banks are going to continue to get less money deposited. In other words, the banks are drying up. They're having problems over there. This is a great one. No, I'm going to skip that. Trucking slowdown ahead of holiday season suggests consumers is faltering. The trucking slowdown ahead of the holiday season suggests consumption, buying, economic consumerism is faltering. We've been covering this for months and months. The trucking industry has been in a recession. In other words, over 6 months of time where their numbers are on a decline. They're not flat. They're not going up and down and up and down. They are continuing a decline in trucking. And what is trucking? Well, once you get on the dirt, get off the water, right, and you get all those nice Chinese objects in warehouses, the trucks take them from here to there, and trains also, right? But trucking is the major way materials are moved. Airplanes too, but trucking is the big one. It is 5% of the United States economy is transportation via trucking. If trucking activity is down, that's an indicator that consumerism is faltering. It's an indicator that raw materials being moved, components and parts being moved to assembly manufacturing. And then, of course, we get a lot of fully manufactured, ready to sell stuff. It's all slowing down, but everything's fine. And then I want to end with this. Hasty burial at sea for Baghdadi. That would be the leader of ISIS. He got a hasty burial at sea. So did Obama. Apparently, they read all of the words. You know, they hummed a tune to the Quran to make sure everything was proper, they say, because no one witnessed this. And if you remember back, SEAL Team 6 had to sign non-disclosure agreements, right? Apparently the military has done this. You are told you cannot talk about the operations you're in. I happen to know military personnel for whom that's true. NDOs. Okay. Baghdadi seems to have died the same way Osama did. There was a top secret, super duper, high powered black ops mission to kill him. Blew him up. Or he blew himself up in this case. But don't worry, they found some underwear with some DNA on it, and they tested it. And yep, it was Baghdadi's DNA. It's not another example like he's done in the past where there was an explosion and everyone thought that was him. And he's sneaking out the back door while he had a bomb strapped to who knows who, right? Well, no, they're saying this time we've got the DNA on the underwear. Well, there's a political reason for having Baghdadi killed at this point. See, we don't need to be in Syria anymore. He's dead. But how many times did Obama die? Not Obama, Osama bin Laden. You should see the interesting videos that were done a while back. I don't even know if they're available anymore, showing how Barack Hussein Barry Soetoro Obama's facial structure was interestingly similar to Osama bin Laden's facial structure, and how the two could have been the same person, or a clone. Ooh, interesting stuff. Yeah, that's conspiracy theory, but it's good stuff. Entertaining anyways. And once again, I'll entertain that kind of stuff to see if there's any facts, right? I can poo-poo it and laugh, but I will look at information. Anyways, how many times did Osama die? And then he was killed and non-disclosure agreements were signed and he was buried at sea. Nobody found the body, right? Nobody got to see the body. They didn't get to dispose of the body or bury the body and have a new martyr site. Well, they did it with this al-Baghdadi again. Or apparently, you know, and they told us it's his DNA. I want to know if they went over to him like a month ago and swabbed his gums, ran a DNA test so they have his DNA so that in the future, if he happens to blow himself up, they would have DNA to compare that to. I mean, what did they do? Send in a bunch of hookers to visit al-Baghdadi and get DNA that way? I mean, it's very interesting. We can get DNA from him, but we can't find him. You have to find him to get the DNA. It's ridiculous. Okay, so what is the upshot on all of these stories? It has to do with the government lying to us. The news, we know, lies to us. Bureaucrats lie to us. Statisticians feed us bullshit and lies. Banks lie. Wall Street lies. Everyone is lying to us. At the beginning, I said, don't believe me. We all have to get our own information and decide for ourselves why we're preparing and how we're going to do it and what we're looking for to be ready for. Lies, 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 lies. Algos freak out over APEC, right? This Ukraine expert, is he lying? Or is everyone in the Trump administration lying, including, right, the people in the NSA and the CIA who all have listened to as it happened and then transcripts, they've recorded the conversation. We're going to believe one guy born in Ukraine who appears to be a double agent, right? Lies. Lies. Jeffrey Epstein is strangled. We don't even know if it was Epstein or not, much less strangled. And it fits their narrative they're telling us and selling us. Deutsche Bank drops their profits 73%, but there's no problems to worry about. Leaving Illinois, you can't retire in this country anymore. Everything is at the tip top economically. Yet people are having trouble retiring, and they're being told they're going to be taxed more. The lie of retirement, the lie that the economy is great, the lie that your money is safe, right? It's a lie. In California, we have wildfires that are being blamed on utility companies, while utility companies are doing what? Making massive profits, but they don't put money into securing the infrastructure. The state hasn't taken care to make sure that everything is cleared away from power lines. Shouldn't they be inspecting the power line corridors to make sure everything's safe and good? Why do these fires pop up? They pop up everywhere. There's just incredible shit. You know, and the Bank of Japan, well, the lie that the bank can print everything. Modern monetary theory is fine. It's a lie, right? Trucking slowdown. The economy's great, but why have we seen now? I think we're up to 9, maybe 10 months of data showing that we're in a trucking recession, meaning stuff is not moving. It's just sitting there, right? And then don't worry, the terrorist, the boogeyman that has kept us in wars since 9/11, the boogeymen are dead again. As if the second in command, al-Baghdadi, can't just go, okay, I'm the leader now, let's go start killing and blowing shit up. Oh, only this guy. Remember how we were told only Osama bin Laden was brilliant enough from his cave to coordinate a massive attack? Bullshit. It's all bullshit. That's what this video is about. Is what they're selling us is bullshit. It is bullshit piled on bullshit on top of lies and crap as far as I'm concerned. Why should I believe a fucking thing they say? That's my concern. Why should I bother even reading their fucking news stories? Well, there's little bits of truth. That's why. But they lie about everything. And these are news headlines coming from around the world and around the globe and all kinds of media. They're selling us bullshit. This is all propaganda and control. Our job, my job for me, is to look at this and go, that's bullshit. I need to be prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. That is my plan. These people are fucking liars. They're full of shit. They're selling us, you know, all kinds of crap. They're pissing down our backs and telling us it's raining, right? They're shaking our hand with one hand, and the other hand, they're reaching around to our wallet and pulling our money. Fuck these people. I'm not talking about just the prostitutes, right? I am not, right? Just their passively managed pigeon, right? That would be a Pinto, right? The other one was Salente. And this other quote that I have, right? These chief goons, these goons in the banks expect us to believe all of their shit. And they tell the truth. They say, until it's time to tell the truth. When it's time to finally admit we're in a recession, then the truth comes out. And they're all surprised by it, and we're supposed to believe they're surprised by it. Now, here's my expectation, is I think the wealthy in this country, who are typically more aware of what's going on, they're looking at the economy going, things ain't so good. And we don't like the idea that you're allowing a Democrat, a socialist, a communist, you're going to have one of these people win the election. And that's why asswipe goon Dudley of the New York Fed, retired though, is now saying, well, you know, maybe we need to lower rates, make money cheaper and more affordable to keep the economy up. Why? Because they don't want a social communist in office in the White House that is going to tax them. They're starting to get fearful that they're going to be taxed to death. Right? So this next election, once again, is going to be the most important of our lifetimes. At least one more seat in the Supreme Court in the next 4 years. At least. In fact, we haven't heard anything about Ruth Bader Ginsburg lately. But back to the thing. The rich people are realizing they're on the hook if these communists win. So they need to help Trump keep the economy going long enough that he gets reelected. But can they keep it going that long? Or will we see a Bank of Japan or a Deutsche Bank moment? Or, once again, Lehman Brothers type moment? Bear Stearns type moment where the banks just go, puh, they run out of juice? Will it become so obvious on the street that everything's faltering and failing? Right? Are we going to start seeing in the inner cities just massive looting and riots coming from the poor, the underachieving, downtrodden poor? Are they going to just start going hog wild? They've been testing for years and realizing, we can break the law. We can get away with all kinds of shit, and the police won't show up in time to stop us from doing a flash attack on a store and just clearing their shelves. Right? Then they can wear masks, hoodies. They don't all get arrested. Right? We're this far away. One announcement from chaos in this country. You bet they need to keep control and keep lying to us. One way or the other, shit is going to hit the fan. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours? It's a question I ask. Are you prepared? All of these stories, are you prepared? I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Thank you again for supporting, for binge watching, marathon watching, leaving the computer on with Prepared Mind videos to make sure your cats and dogs and fish are prepared. What a ride. What a ride. Semper Fi, always faithful. And Godspeed to all in all of your endeavors. Talk to you soon.
Good stuff for sure. And, he had mentioned, what his quote unquote job is. And, that's very similar to how I feel. I feel my job is to go out, take in all this different information, all this data from all these different sources, discern it, try to pick out what's true, try to pick out what's not, all the while not being distracted by unimportant things like sports and entertainment and, whatever stupid little thing they want us to worry about. And, try to pick apart the information that they do give us and try to find some truth in it. And then come here to you. And that's what I try to do. That is my goal. It's something that I've always been, good at doing. I've always been good at puzzles, and I don't necessarily mean like jigsaw type of puzzles. I've always been good at puzzles. My comprehension skills are through the roof. And I'm also really good at reverse engineering. In fact, that's how I've achieved most of the skills that I have in life is by reverse engineering. I don't know why. It's just naturally how my mind works. And so that's why I thought it was an important part of my life to come here and do what it is that I do. So, and it's, not always real well received because it goes against the grain of a lot of opinions. But that is what it is. I'm not going to stop telling the truth to make people feel better. So I firmly do believe that SHTF is right around the corner. I firmly believe that. I can't tell you when. I'm not going to make any kind of prediction because I'd be lying if I did. But I think it's upon us. I really do. Like he said, it's one announcement away from chaos. There could not be any more of a correct statement. But there is a bit of wisdom. We're nearing the end of Halloween 2019. There is a bit of wisdom that was shared on Facebook. And I think it's time to share it with you all. I think it's very important. It's essential that we have this knowledge. And there you go. What do Christmas lights and Jeffrey Epstein have in common? They don't hang themselves. You know what I'm saying? That kind of wisdom will take you far in life. Anyway, I saw that and I about lost it. I thought it was hilarious, but it's true. Oh man, I am telling you. All we can do is hang in there, folks. Get prepared, get ready. Make sure mental preparedness is a huge part of that. A huge part. Anyway, I am going to get out of here. I hope everybody has a great evening. I appreciate everybody coming. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow and we'll do it again to wrap up the week. Man, it just getting crazier and crazier. All right, folks, have a great night. As always, God bless you. We love you, and be one with your spirit.